Chapter 1835. Yu Ming didn't open his mouth but directly used his actions to show his sincerity. He flipped his palm and a transparent screen floated above his palm. Following that, he raised his other hand and condensed his profound qi, covering the screen. A ray of profound qi encircled the screen. Not long after, an extremely illusory image that resembled a vast universe appeared on the screen. The entire screen was covered by that piece of black nothingness. Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she inched closer. What is this place? The plane where your two brothers are at. Yu Ming replied calmly. Yi Qing Luo's expression changed slightly as she quickly rushed to the screen. The image on the screen was clearly imprinted into Yi Qing Luo's eyes. In the pitch-black space of nothingness, there were some faintly discernible lights flickering within. She could faintly see the surrounding thousands of stars, sparkling with a weak light. The first feeling it gave Yi Qing Luo was. It was a space under the vast starry sky. Tranquil and beautiful. But, when Yi Qing Luo's vision was fixed on a certain spot on the screen, her heart was fiercely in pain. What tranquil, what beautiful. This was simply a massacre under the tranquil atmosphere. Fresh blood under the beautiful atmosphere. Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin, the both of them held their weapons in their hands, as they constantly fought against the various monsters which were surging towards them. Those monsters which were killed, no matter how they were killed. They could swiftly heal themselves, piecing together into a new, extremely strange, but even more powerful monster. Battle. Battle. This was the battle plane. Here, there was only this piece of beautiful nothingness space. Here, there were only one after another, continuously reviving and reassembling monsters. They only had one goal. Battle. To battle with the outsiders. To battle with the other monsters in the plane. Then to devour the other party's energy, to consolidate their own energy. In this plane, the battle would never stop. Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin's faces matched. Apparently they had been battling for a long period of time. Yi Qing Luo could tell. If they continued to battle like this, these two people would soon run out of stamina. Her heart seemed to be pricked by needles. She pushed Yu Ming and turned her head. Her slightly reddened eyes stared fiercely at the formation eye. Send me to the battle plane immediately. Immediately. The eye of the devouring formation was shocked by the look in her eyes. It responded with a trembling voice. Just as she was about to lead the way, Netherworld's calm voice came, Miss Yi, you don't have to be so impatient. Calm down. Yi Qing Luo's charming eyes were filled with anger as she stared coldly at Yu Ming. When the person you care about is in the battle plane, will you show me how to calm down? Yu Ming was taken aback. He seemed to subconsciously replace Yu Nu with Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin. His heart suddenly tightened. If it was Netherwoman who entered the battle plane, he indeed wouldn't be able to calm down. Seeing Yu Ming's eyes filled with struggle, a glint flashed past Yi Qing Luo's eyes. It seemed that this fellow called Yu Ming really cared about someone in his heart. I have a way to keep them safe for now. Yu Ming looked at the two people supporting each other on the screen. So, you don't have to rush to the battle dimension. Temporarily safe? Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. What I want is not temporary. Chapter 1836. You weren't devoured by the godless spell formation, and you were even able to tame the spell formation core and send you to the battle plane. You can only say that you were lucky. Yu Ming solemnly looked at the devouring formation eye, which was hiding at the side. However, if you enter the battle dimension, you won't have the chance to transfer dimensions anymore. In other words, he couldn't possibly go to the battle dimension and bring Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin to the 21st century dimension. Because, once he went there would be no chance for him to come back. Compared to the battle plane, without a doubt, he would be able to live longer if he chose the 21st century. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips as she stared at the battle between the two people on the screen. She tried hard not to let her emotions show on her face. Yu Ming continued, the vast water divine weapon only exists in the tomb of the Yi clan's ancestor in the 21st century. If you leave this plane, it means that you will never be able to collect a complete set of the vast water divine weapon. Yiqing Luo's brows creased slightly. She could not refute Netherworld's words. She had promised Old Man Tsang that she would gather a set of blue water divine tools. Moreover, the vast water divine weapon was a special existence to her. Leave this plane. This also meant that the vast water divine weapon in the ancestral tomb would forever be sealed in the ancestral tomb. She couldn't help but praise this fellow called Netherworld. He was very smart and knew how to capture people's hearts. She wanted to use the Netherworld. Instead, he was led by the nose by the Netherworld. How long is the temporary safety you mentioned? A clear and elegant voice came from behind him. Dmo Xian slowly walked to Yiqing Luo's side, his long arms wrapped around her tightly. The elegant sandalwood scent lingered around Yiqing Luo. She felt the familiar warmth of the man. Yiqing Luo's restless heart immediately calmed down. She looked up at the man's handsome chin and said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, "Ah Xian knows me best." Dmo Xian lowered his gaze. Her peach blossom eyes sparkled with a dazzling charm. His thin lips curled up slightly, and his gaze seemed to be saying, "Of course, I understand my woman." From the moment Yu Ming appeared, Yiqing Luo knew that this person was the owner of the profound chi fluctuation which she sensed from the wealthy district in the Century Garden. His strength might very well be above hers. She was a profound practitioner of the sky profound realm. Netherworld strength was above hers. Netherworld was definitely not someone from the Nirvana realm. He said that he had been in this plane for 10 years. But he knew her like the back of his hand. Towards Yu Ming's words, Yiqing Luo only believed 30% of it. And the reason why he was making a deal with the Netherworld here. It was to use the power of the Netherworld to save Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin from that plane. However, Yu Ming was clearly unable to do so. It was impossible to tell if this was true or not. She didn't know. 3 days. Netherworld raised 3 fingers and replied calmly, "I can separate them from those monsters with the technology of the 21st century. Quarantine? 21st century technology? You can travel between planes? However, he can only be isolated for 3 days at most." Netherworld's voice was solemn. "However, if the monster mutates, we might not be able to hold on for 2 days. If I can't be sure of my brother's safety, I can't be at ease and make plans for my own matters." Yiqing Luo rejected him without any hesitation. "What I want is my brother's 100% safety. Your uncertainty factor is unable to convince me." Yiqing Luo had already dispelled the idea of making use of the Netherworld. It was impossible for her to gamble with Xiao Jin and Xiao Yi's lives. Star. Chapter 1837. You really don't want the vast water god relic? Yu Ming frowned, seemingly unable to understand Yiqing Luo's thoughts. Yiqing Luo had already urged the devouring array eye to lead the way. Hearing Yu Ming's words, she turned her head and fixed her gaze on Yu Ming. "I want the vast aqua god relic, but I want my brother to live on peacefully." Her voice was calm, not mixed with any other emotions. Yu Ming was stunned. He pursed his lips and didn't speak again. Yiqing Luo turned around. "Let's go." What she needed to do now was to head to the battle dimension and rescue Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin. The so-called rules of the godless formation were merely rules set by the person who set up the formation. Since they were able to tame a formation and travel to another plane, there would be a way to return to the 21st century from the battle plane. Saving his brother came first. The matter of gathering the deep water divine artifact could be thought of later. Yu Ming watched as the 3 of them left. The screen in his hand suddenly disappeared from his palm. He quickly caught up with her. Miss Yi, I only have one goal, and that is to bring me back to our time. I believe that you have the ability to do so, and you are the only ones who can help me. How about this? I'll do my best to ensure that you and your brother will be completely unharmed for the next 3 days. Is that okay? Yi Qing Luo's footsteps halted as she casted a sidelong glance at him. Yu Ming, what do you have to make me believe you? You said that he would be unharmed for 3 days, but will he really be unharmed for 3 days? Yu Ming's remaining words were all stuck in his throat, unable to rebuke Yi Qing Luo's words. That's right, this was the first time he and Yi Qing Luo met. On what basis did he ask Yi Qing Luo to believe him? Yu Ming clenched his fists tightly, and he hesitated for a short while before he gnashed his teeth and said in the end, I can give you this nether mirror. You can pay attention to the situation of those 2 brothers of yours at all times through the nether mirror. Nether mirror? She should be referring to the screen that just popped out of her palm. She did not expect that the netherworld would be willing to use the underworld mirror in exchange for her trust. He was really going all out. Yi Qing Luo's eyes narrowed as she suddenly laughed, but how would I know that the thing projected from your underworld mirror is an illusion which you created to confuse me? She spread out her hands and shrugged helplessly. Forgive me for not being able to fully trust you. After all, it concerns my 2 brothers. I can't allow any accidents to happen. Yu Ming's face stiffened. His scarlet eyes flashed with a red light. He had not expected Yi Qing Luo to be so stubborn. For his brother, was he really willing to give up the chance to obtain the vast water divine artifact? One had to know that obtaining the vast water divine artifact would greatly improve her strength. Moreover, she had personally witnessed the brutality and slaughter in that battle dimension. If he went, he would most likely die. Why, did she still choose to go to the battle plane without any hesitation? Was the so-called brotherhood really more important than their own interests? The netherworld could not understand such affection. He only knew that ever since he was born. He was the Venerable One's dog. He had companions who had grown up with him. However, because of his scarlet eyes, those people all thought of him as a monster. No one wanted to be close to him. Except for Yu Nu. So he really didn't understand why Yi Qing Luo would choose to sacrifice everything for the brotherhood. Thinking of Yu Nu, Yu Ming's heart slowly sunk. He must hurry back to Nirvana realm. He wanted to see Yu Nu so badly. If he didn't return, his Yu Nu would probably be snatched away by Yu Han. Chapter 1838. Miss Yi, I'll tell you how to use the underworld mirror. You control the underworld mirror yourself, so I have no way to fake it. Yu Ming rushed forward again and blocked the path of the 3 of them. He fixed his gaze on Yi Qing Luo's eyes. I really want to return to Nirvana realm, there's someone waiting for me there. His gaze was very sincere. He was so sincere that it seemed as if there was indeed someone waiting for him. He had painstakingly wanted to go back to their era. It was all for that person. Lil Luo, Dmo Xian spoke before Yi Qing Luo opened her mouth. Since Mr. Yu is so sincere, let's agree to it. Ah Xian. Yi Qing Luo frowned. Just as she was about to say something, she felt a pain on her waist. Dmo Xian's hand pinched her waist. Her voice paused as she looked at Dmo Xian in puzzlement. Dmo Xian's thin lips curled up as he glanced at Yu Ming with a smile which didn't look like a smile. The person waiting for Mr. Yu in Nirvana realm should be a lady, right? Yu Ming lowered his head, as though he was a little shy. Yes. Dmo Xian's brows rose as he glanced sideways at Yi Qing Luo, his slender fingers tapping on her forehead. Did you hear that? If you don't agree to Mr. Yu's request, isn't it breaking up a pair of lovers? Yes, 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 whatever you say makes sense. Yi Qing Luo didn't know what Dmo Xian was trying to do as she rolled her eyes. She didn't speak. She didn't express whether to agree or reject. When Yu Ming saw this, he flipped his palm and immediately presented the underworld mirror to Yi Qing Luo. This is the underworld mirror. As long as you cover the mirror with profound qi, you will be able to see what you want to see within a certain range. Within a certain range? Yi Qing Luo caught onto this word. How far does this range refer to? You mean, Xiao Yi and Xiao Jin are actually not far away from me? This range refers to the range of the same parallel space. Netherworld explained, just like how we all came in through the soulless formation, we naturally belong to the same parallel space. We only need some simple information, and the Netherworld mirror will automatically search for it. The information that matches the user's plane of existence will appear on the mirror. So it's like this. Yi Qing Luo nodded her head thoughtfully. I have already cleansed my own profound energy. I only need to inject your profound energy into it. Yu Ming said. Yi Qing Luo looked at Yu Ming suspiciously. The hand on her waist squeezed her again. She glared at him sideways and reached out to take the dark mirror. Try it. Dmo Xian's voice floated down from above. Yi Qing Luo imitated Yu Ming's earlier action as she placed her palm on the mirror. A stream of dark force immediately wrapped around the nether mirror. Immediately after, she felt an extremely strong resonance from the depths of her heart. A suction force pulled her hand firmly against the dark mirror. Before Yi Qing Luo could react, Dmo Xian suddenly held her waist tightly and placed his hand on the back of her hand, which was pressed against the mirror. The majestic profound energy was like a hot knife through butter. The man's dark force was injected into her body. Yi Qing Luo only felt a scorching sensation on her palm. She could vaguely see Netherworld, who was beside her, shouting at her with a face full of resentment and anger. Yi Qing Luo couldn't hear the surrounding sounds. All he could hear was the sound of the strong wind whistling in his ears. Suddenly, Yi Qing Luo felt a surge of energy gushing into her heart. The next moment, Dmo Xian's palm moved away. The strong wind around him gradually calmed down. Chapter 1839. Miss Yi. Yu Ming's face was steely green as he bellowed furiously. After the whirlpool around Yi Qing Luo had dissipated, he strode towards Yi Qing Luo as he gritted his teeth and stretched out his hand to grab Yi Qing Luo's collar. But before he could get close to Yi Qing Luo, a ray of profound qi came towards him. Yu Ming's reaction was swift as he rolled on the ground, avoiding that profound qi attack. He stared fiercely at Dmo Xian. That fellow had a protective look on his face, as though saying, "You dare to bully my wife, I'll let you know why the flowers are red." Yu Ming knew how powerful Dmo Xian was. He could only suppress the rage in his heart as he tried his best to make his voice sound more peaceful. Don't you feel that you've gone too far? But no matter how he suppressed it, Yu Ming's tone was filled with viciousness which couldn't be concealed. Yi Qing Luo propped up her weak body as her brows creased as she took a look at her palm. She actually took the underworld mirror as her own. That's right, she took it as her own. Just as she wanted to use her profound energy to activate the underworld mirror. Dmo Xian had already led her to contract the underworld mirror. Which meant that this heaven-defying underworld mirror belonged to her now. It was impossible for Yu Ming to take it back even if he wanted to. Realizing this, Yi Qing Luo was speechless. She had not expected that Dmo Xian's original plan was actually this. Her Xian had learnt bad things. Deceiving Yu Ming in a serious manner as he passed the underworld mirror into her hands. And then robbing it on the spot as a matter of course. Towards this, Yi Qing Luo only wanted to say one sentence, "Beautifully done." Looking at Yu Ming's expression, which looked as though he had just eaten *T, Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but laughed out loud. This laugh completely infuriated Yu Ming. "You! Yi Qing Luo, that's mine." Yu Ming clenched his fists tightly as he bellowed in rage. The god relic which he had been relying on had been with him for a full 2 years. He hadn't even been able to contract the underworld mirror. Suddenly the person whom he had schemed against, contracted the underworld mirror which he had been longing for. And even forcefully took it as her own right in front of him. Who could tolerate that? Who would be able to endure such humiliation? Looking at Yu Ming's fiendish look, Yiqing Luo decisively chose to hug Dmo Xian's waist tightly as she blinked her innocent eyes. I also want to return it to you, but how should I return it? She tilted her head, vividly portraying the image of an ignorant young girl. Yu Ming held a breath in his throat, but he couldn't spit it out. That's right, we've already formed a contract. How can I return it? Even if they wanted to terminate the contract, they would have to wait for a year after the contract was established. Looking at Yiqing Luo's innocent smile, Yu Ming didn't feel that this young lady was innocent. The more he looked, the angrier he became. Prince Yu. Suddenly, Dmo Xian's sonorous voice was clear and mellow. Since you want to return to Nirvana realm and reunite with your beloved woman, I'm afraid that just the benefit of the vast water god relic is far from enough. His thin lips were slightly raised, and his shimmering peach blossom eyes were like stars in the sky. He looked at the netherworld and smiled. That smile was peerless and unparalleled. However, Yu Ming sensed a terrifying threat coming from him. This kind of threatening feeling, even from a revered, he didn't have such a strong feeling. Dmo Xian. Just how powerful was he? Chapter 1840. Netherworld lowered his head in silence. Dmo Xian continued to laugh. So, using the underworld mirror to exchange for your reunion with the woman you love, isn't it worth it? Lord of the Underworld opened his mouth, but found himself unable to refute. How could he have forgotten? When the two of them were put together, it was a combination that could kill people without paying with their lives. In order to lure Yiqing Luo to take the bait, he took the initiative to hand over the Ming Mirror. Today, Ming Mirror had already contracted with Yiqing Luo. He had connected to the underworld mirror, but there was no medium to contact the Venerable One anymore. If he didn't follow the two of them back to the Nirvana realm, I'm afraid, he really wouldn't have the chance to see Yu Nu again. Thinking of this, Netherworld could only clench his teeth and swallow his resentment. It's worth it. As long as you can bring me back to the Nirvana realm, even if I have to pay with my life, it's worth it. The pressure in Dmo Xian's smile gradually dissipated. Yu Ming hadn't even caught his breath when he heard Yiqing Luo saying, Mr. Yu, there's no time to lose. Please immediately isolate my brothers from that group of monsters. Yu Ming almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Forcefully forming a contract with his divine artifact. Now, she even wanted him to use his power to protect her brother. However, now that things had come to this, he could only obey. With a gloomy face, he gritted his teeth and said, First, bring out the situation of your brother's plane. How do I adjust it? Yiqing Luo flipped her palm and the Ming Mirror appeared in her palm. Yu Ming suppressed his anger and explained the steps in detail. Yiqing Luo's comprehension ability was extremely high. In just a moment, the situation of the battle plane was changed to the mirror plane. Yu Ming looked at where Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin were. He took out something that looked like a gun from his pocket. He aimed at the mirror and suddenly fired a shot. A silver light shot out from the muzzle. It shot straight into the dark mirror. Immediately following that, Yiqing Luo saw on the screen, Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin's surroundings were enveloped by silver light. The silver light quickly formed an elevator-like space at a speed visible to the naked eye. When the surrounding monsters saw this, they all rushed towards the direction of the silver light. But before he could get close, the monster bounced off. Over the past 10 years, I've invited over 100 scientists to research this defensive barrier. It can't be broken by swords or spears. Even a profound practitioner like me can't break it. Yu Ming put the spear away. His face was still ashen. Originally, this was my secret weapon to protect myself. Now, I've given it to your brothers. You promised me. I hope you won't go back on your word. Yi Qing Luo looked at the both of them who were well protected by the protective cover, leaning against it to rest. Her heart, which was hanging in suspense, finally calmed down. Can this thing really last for 3 days? She asked again. Netherworld cast a sidelong glance at her. Before the launch, I had already activated the super protective mode. 3 days is definitely not a problem. The dark mirror is in your hands now. You can use it to check on the situation at any time. Yi Qing Luo kept the mirror, then many thanks to you. 3 days should be enough. The food in Yan Xiao Yi and Xiao Jin space pockets should be enough for them to last for 3 days. She lifted her eyes and fixed them on Yu Ming. Alright, young master you can tell me your real motive now. Yu Ming's brows twitched as he met Yi Qing Luo's chilly gaze. He went into a blank as he suppressed the panic in his heart. My motive is to return to Nirvana realm. I don't have the patience to beat around the bush with you. Yi Qing Luo interrupted his words. Since you've already resolved the matter that I'm worried about, as long as your request doesn't touch my bottom line, I can satisfy you. Her lips curled as she said word by word, what do you want from the Yi family's late emperor's tomb? Star. Chapter 1841. I really. Yu Ming licked his dry lips and wanted to quibble. Yu Ming, since you've done an investigation on me, you must be very clear about my character. Yi Qing Luo interrupted him again with a smile. The smile in her eyes became colder. I'm not in the mood to play this kind of game with you. If you can't be frank with me, then. She paused, the coldness in her eyes intensified. I'll take back what I said earlier. Yu Ming was stunned, his scarlet eyes flashed with a burning red light. Take back what she said earlier, that she would satisfy his request. Indeed, he had done an investigation on Yi Qing Luo and knew her character well. Once she said to take it back, there was really no room to change it. Yu Ming sighed, took out a red brocade box from his pocket and handed it to Yi Qing Luo. I do have another purpose. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows and took the brocade box. This brocade box looked like a proposal ring. She opened it with her fingertips and saw a marble-sized crystal ball lying in the brocade box. The sparkling flowing light was extremely dazzling. I hope you will bring this crystal ball with you when you enter the late emperor's tomb. Yu Ming said indifferently. What is this thing? Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes and looked at the crystal ball carefully. She had handled a lot of high technology when she went out on various missions. But really, she couldn't tell what material this crystal ball was made of. After a moment of silence, Yu Ming shook his head and said, I can only tell you that I do want something from the tomb of the late emperor, but I can't tell you what it is exactly. This crystal ball will help me find what I want. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. What if the target of this crystal ball is also the vast aqua divine relic? Or has other uses? The Lord beside you should be able to tell. Yu Ming replied in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Yi Qing Luo raised her eyes and looked at Dmo Xian. She saw him nodding slightly. This crystal ball indeed didn't have any effect on Yi Qing Luo to attack or harm her. I can guarantee that the thing I want is absolutely not the vast aqua divine relic. Even if I truly wanted the ocean water artifact, with you present, the ocean water artifact would choose you on its own. The connection between the descendant of the Yi clan and the Azure divine weapon was not something an ordinary person could match. Snatch the Azure water artifact from Yi Qing Luo? There was no chance of victory at all. Alright, I promise you. Yi Qing Luo didn't hesitate any further as she placed the crystal ball back into the brocade box and placed it into the profound phoenix ring. She still maintained a skeptical attitude towards Yu Ming. This man, from the moment he appeared, he wanted to make use of her. Of course, she was also plotting against the netherworld. Because of this, Yi Qing Luo didn't feel any guilt for forcefully contracting the dark mirror, nor did she feel any awkwardness of becoming a robber. She would choose to accept the conditions of the netherworld. It was all because he had protected Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi. Let's go, hurry up and head to the late emperor's tomb first. Yi Qing Luo urged. Even though they had confirmed Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi's safety, she would still worry. He had to end the battle quickly and settle the matter at hand. Let's hurry to the combat plane. Only by personally protecting Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi could she truly feel at ease. Plane change. Location, combat plane time. Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin had just entered the godless array 1 hour later. Chapter 1842. The black scythe blade in Yan Xiaoyi's hand was already stained with blood. Xiao Jin stood in front of Yan Xiaoyi to protect her, constantly releasing profound qi to push away the approaching monsters. Both of their faces were pale. Large beads of sweat flowed down their foreheads. The monsters here could not be killed at all. No matter how many monsters they killed, those monsters would reassemble and become another type of monster with higher attack power and stronger battle strength. Especially, when the number of monsters killed in one go was too many. Those monsters would then stack together to form a new and powerful monster. In just a short hour, the strength of the two was almost exhausted. What the hell is this place? We clearly escaped into the secret passage, how did we suddenly appear in this place? Yan Xiaoyi said while panting. Xiao Jin did not answer. His vigilant eyes scanned the surroundings. All around him was a pitch-black void. Thousands of stars were faintly flickering, embellishing this pitch-black space with a little light. The surrounding monsters were torn apart and then reassembled again. Except for the 10 monsters that had been besieging them. There were also countless monsters that covered the sky, constantly killing each other. The most shocking thing was, when one of the monsters had finished killing the other monster, the monster's body started to tremble. Before the monster was about to reassemble, the victorious monster directly swallowed the broken limbs of the other monster into its own body, turning it into its own strength. This place. If I'm not wrong, this is a space plane very far away from the Nirvana realm, called the battle plane. Xiao Jin pondered for a moment, and finally gave an explanation. Battle plane? Yan Xiaoyi used the black scythe blade to kill a monster that was charging over, and looked at Xiao Jin in shock. There's really such a place? The legend of the battle plane. She had only heard of it. No one had ever confirmed it. She did not expect that one day, they would actually come to this legendary place called Hell. The battle plane was a hell. An extremely painful hell that could only be truly released by death. In the battle plane, there was only continuous fighting, endless fighting, fighting until death, being swallowed by other monsters, was the true release. Otherwise, they could only fight with their lives on the line, fight. Killing, blood. This was the true portrayal of the battle dimension. However, if one wanted to survive in the battle plane, they would have to be careful. They could only fight non-stop, devour the defeated monsters, absorb their power, and fight other monsters. Perhaps, it had been devoured to a certain extent. Only then would he be able to truly escape from the battle dimension. However, neither Yan Xiaoyi nor Xiao Jin thought of devouring the defeated monster. This kind of devouring was too disgusting. Moreover, they were unwilling to accept that their bodies had been combined with those monsters. Just the thought of it made his scalp tingle. If they didn't devour them, they could only watch as the defeated monsters regrouped and attacked them again. This was truly hell. Yan Xiaoyi's face turned pale. Slut Jin, what should we do now? If this goes on, we'll sooner or later become a part of these monsters' bodies due to physical exhaustion. However, when she thought about it, it was very likely that she would be swallowed by those monsters. Yan Xiaoyi felt her stomach churn. Xiao Jin embraced Yan Xiaoyi's slightly trembling body, his eyes looked deeply into her eyes, and said word by word, "No, I will definitely protect you." Star. Chapter 1843. I will definitely protect you. I will definitely protect you. Protect you, this sentence kept reverberating in Yan Xiaoyi's mind. She blinked her beautiful eyes and looked into Qiao Jin's eyes. There was a part of her heart that suddenly softened a little. With this sentence of his. With his strong arms hugging her. She didn't feel that those monsters around her were anything to be afraid of. There seemed to be a warm current in her heart that was spreading through her limbs and bones. He said that he would definitely protect her. With such a loving gaze. It was as if she was his entire world. He couldn't bear for her to be hurt in the slightest. However, Yan Xiaoyi only dared to secretly think that in her heart. She knew that this man's protection towards her wasn't the kind of feeling she had imagined. However, she still felt sweet and moved. Yan Xiaoyi's gaze was as gentle as water. As if she wanted to melt Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin's heart trembled slightly as he suppressed the urge to hug the woman fiercely and looked away. Be careful. He threw out these two words as if to hide his inner thoughts. The gold coin dart in his hand once again flew towards the monster that was charging over. When he opened his eyes in a panic, he didn't notice Yan Xiaoyi's slightly pale face and the slight frown of pain between her brows. Yan Xiaoyi tried hard to control her breathing and tried to make it as smooth as possible so that Xiao Jin wouldn't notice anything amiss. The corners of her lips curled up slightly as her eyes were filled with affection. She buried herself in Xiao Jin's embrace and hugged his waist tightly with both hands. She breathed in Xiao Jin's scent. Her heart seemed to be filled with something. In her eyes, there were no monsters, no empty space, no plain of battle. In her eyes, there was only Xiao Jin. Perhaps it was because she felt that her life was gradually fading away. Or perhaps it was because there was no result in this plane. The expression on Yan Xiaoyi's face became increasingly gentle. She looked up, her beautiful eyes gentle as she gazed at Xiao Jin's side profile. Suddenly, she chuckled softly. Xiao Jin's body froze when he heard her laughter. He kicked a monster away and took a few steps back with Yan Xiaoyi in his arms. The monster crashed into the other monster. They immediately engaged in a fierce battle. Xiao Jin hugged Yan Xiaoyi tightly and took an illusory step. He passed by the monsters and quickly headed towards the direction where there were fewer monsters. The footwork which he had learnt from Yiqing Luo, Xiao Jin displayed it to the fullest. The monsters did not even have time to react. The two people in front of him had already disappeared. When they want to chase. In the next instant, he was caught up by another monster. There was no place to hide in the void. No matter where he went, there were monsters. The two of them flashed in the void, carefully avoiding the monster's line of sight. Finally, he stopped at a relatively safe place. Although it was safe, it was also extremely dangerous. This was because they were close to where the two giant monsters were fighting. The two gigantic monsters had obviously devoured countless monsters to form such a huge body. As they fought, no monsters dared to approach them. The two of them avoided the monsters and hid not far from the battle. He could finally rest for a while. Xiao Jin panted lightly as he hugged the lady in his arms tightly and changed her into a comfortable position. What were you laughing at earlier? Yan Xiaoyi didn't want Xiao Jin to see her pale face as she leaned her head on his shoulder and smiled sweetly. I was laughing at your earlier action, it was very handsome. Chapter 1844. So, those people can only be outsiders. Yan Xiaoyi smiled lightly. In my eyes, you are very handsome. Perhaps because he was shy, Xiao Jin lowered his head and did not respond. His face was covered by Yan Xiaoyi's hair. It was faintly visible that his earlobe was dyed red. After a moment of silence, Yan Xiaoyi laughed softly. She rubbed her head against Xiao Jin's chest like a kitten. Her soft voice sounded ethereal. Slut Jin, when we were in the secret room, you heard what Shi Shanglan and I said, right? The man's body stiffened. Yan Xiaoyi clearly felt that the chest under her head had hardened a little. The smile on the face of the woman who buried her head in the man's chest dimmed a little. After a while, she laughed bitterly. She took a deep breath, as if to calm herself down. Her hands around his waist loosened slightly. Xiao Jin opened his mouth and wanted to say something. But he did not have the words, and did not know how to explain. In the next moment, he heard the woman's helpless voice drifting into his ears. I told Shi Shanglan that I like you, and the person I love is you. The body of the man who was hugging her became more and more stiff. She raised her head and looked at the man's eyes with her clear and beautiful eyes. She raised her lips and smiled. Yes, Xiao Jin, I like you. I, Yan Xiaoyi, like you. Xiao Jin's expression gradually froze on his face. Yan Xiaoyi saw the shock and panic in his eyes. He really didn't like her. Even being liked by her, he felt annoyed. Yan Xiaoyi laughed in a low voice, Slut Jin, do you feel bad about dying with someone you hate? Xiaoyi. Xiao Jin tightened his arms and his eyes flickered. I don't hate you. Yan Xiaoyi smiled. Then do you like me? Xiao Jin's thin lips trembled as if he wanted to say something. In the end, he closed his mouth and did not give any answer. Yan Xiaoyi's bright smile gradually lost its light. She leaned her head on Xiao Jin's shoulder again. I know you don't want to hurt our brotherhood. Even if you don't say anything, I understand. It doesn't matter if you don't like me. It's enough that I like you. Anyway, at least at this time, the person by your side is me. Yan Xiaoyi's voice became increasingly ethereal. Xiao Jin's heart tightened when he heard this, as if there were thousands of silver needles fiercely stabbing into his heart. He wanted to hug Yan Xiaoyi tightly and kiss her lips. He wanted to use his own warmth to warm her somewhat cold body. Her smile, so painful. He wanted to drive away all her unhappiness. But he couldn't. In the end, Xiao Jin only hugged Yan Xiaoyi tightly and whispered into her ear, we won't die. We definitely won't die. But Slut Jin, I no longer have the strength to fight. Yan Xiaoyi laughed lightly. Her breathing was light and shallow, as though she would stop breathing in the next moment. His body gradually turned cold. Her soft voice seemed to be interrupted at any time. Xiao Jin's pupils suddenly widened. He tightened his arms and lifted the face of the woman in his arms. You're injured. As though to prove his words. Blood suddenly flowed out from the corner of Yan Xiaoyi's mouth. That blood was not an ordinary red. It was a kind of jet black. Xiaoyi. Xiao Jin's arms tightened. When did she get injured? Why didn't he sense it at all? No wonder, she who had always been proud would appear to be such a small woman. She was injured. In this battle plain, injured and powerless to fight. There was only one result. Chapter 1845. I'm fine. Yan Xiaoyi smiled. Black blood stained her pale lips. Her pair of clear and beautiful eyes were gradually covered by a layer of hazy mist. She wanted to raise her hand and caress Xiao Jin's face. But all her strength had long been exhausted. She clenched her fingers and finally gave up the thought of touching him. Xiaoyi, don't speak first, I will bring you out of here, I will definitely bring you out of here. Xiao Jin looked at Yan Xiaoyi's pale face and lifeless eyes. The dull pain in the bottom of his heart twitched. Yan Xiaoyi smiled weakly, Slut Jin, before you talk big, look around you first. She sighed softly in her heart. Someone as stupid as Slut Jin. If she really died like this. With his intelligence, could he really leave this plane alive? He clearly knew that in the surroundings, other than fighting monsters, there were monsters that were assembling. He even made such a loud noise and caused such a huge commotion. One must know that the two of them were hiding not far from the two largest monsters. Xiao Jin's shout just now immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding monsters. Two enormous monsters surrounded the two of them. One of them raised its voice and let out a long howl. Countless monsters in the surroundings stopped fighting and rushed over. In a short while, the two of them were completely surrounded in the middle by the monsters. This is troublesome. Yan Xiaoyi sighed softly. No matter where it is, it's the law of the jungle. Look, even if it's a fighting plane, there's a strong that rules this plane. Xiao Jin's face darkened as he stared at the surroundings, at the ferocious-looking wild beasts, a cold and vicious air flowing in his eyes. Faintly, in this pitch-black space, flashing an almost undetectable golden light. Slut Jean, after I die, swallow me up. After all, I'm a human. If you swallow me, you'll at most swallow my power, you won't become a monster like them. Yan Xiaoyi panted lightly as she nestled in his arms and said softly, "What nonsense are you saying?" Xiao Jin lowered his eyes and glared at her fiercely. "I said before, I will protect you, neither of us will die, don't say such disheartening words to me." "But you can't hold on any longer, can you?" Yan Xiaoyi looked at the sweat on his forehead. "If you bring me along, I'll only be a burden to you. If you're alone, you might be able to leave alive." She took a deep breath and looked at Xiao Jin's face with some seriousness. "Slut Jean, you don't like me anyway. Whether I live or die doesn't affect you much, does it? You put all your strength into your mouth. Can't you just shut up?" Xiao Jin was agitated by Yan Xiaoyi's ear-piercing words. "In your heart, I'm someone who would abandon my heart, my brothers in order to live? Aren't you looking down on me too much? If we want to leave, let's leave together. If we want to live, let's live together." Yan Xiaoyi's hazy eyes flickered. She lowered her eyelids, her heart palpitating slightly. "Abandon the heart, heart of what? Is it the one I love?" Not knowing why, in Yan Xiaoyi's mind, these four words actually surfaced, but if that was the case, why did he change his words in the end? Chapter 1846. Elemental Energy Pill, as the name suggested, was a pill used to recover elemental energy. After consuming it, it could instantly replenish one's physical strength and the supply of profound jade heart's profound energy. Xiao Jin held onto the gold coin dart in one hand, as he continuously stopped the monsters from getting closer. His other hand hugged onto Yan Xiaoyi's waist tightly. He couldn't free his hands. Yan Xiaoyi used all her strength to reach her hand into his embrace. Her slender fingers gently touched his muscular body. Through the thin inner clothing, Yan Xiaoyi could clearly feel the touch of hard muscles on her palm. Yan Xiaoyi's hand froze, as her ears turned red. Xiao Jin's expression was rather strange. The lady's soft little hand was like a feather, gently teasing his heartstrings. The soft lady's body in his embrace. The lady's soft little hand on his chest kept on teasing. And it was his beloved woman. This kind of teasing, no matter which man, would not be able to take it. Xiao Jin's breathing hastened, as he suppressed the urge to squeeze down 3 inches, as he shouted, "Hurry up." Yan Xiaoyi's hand froze. She pursed her lips tightly, and even though her face was dyed red, it was unable to conceal her pale complexion. He hated her that much? Even her touch, he hated it so much? Yan Xiaoyi's expression pierced Xiao Jin's eyes. His thin lips trembled, as though he wanted to say something, but when the words reached his mouth, his meaning changed. "What are you still standing there for? Do you really want to die here?" And this angry reprimand, in Yan Xiaoyi's ears, combined with his attitude, changed its meaning. He didn't like her, and hated her. So, even in death, he wasn't willing to die together with her. He insisted on protecting her, saving her. But it was because they were brothers. This was because Devil Class and the World Group would not abandon any of them. Yan Xiaoyi's heart was in pain. The warm feeling that she thought was infallible earlier had completely disappeared. Finally, she touched the elemental energy pill. "Eat it." Xiao Jin didn't want to see her hurt expression, as he said that in a low voice, as he pulled her into his embrace, not willing to see her expression anymore. Yan Xiaoyi pursed her pale lips. She looked at the elemental energy pill in her hand. "There's only one, eat it." "I told you to eat, so eat. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" Xiao Jin frowned. Was she aware of the current situation? The surrounding monsters had already surrounded them, and they simply did not have the time to choose or argue over who to give the elemental energy pill to. Yan Xiaoyi's hand that was holding the elemental energy pill stiffened. "What I mean is, your battle strength is stronger than mine. I have enough stamina, I don't need this pill." Xiao Jin looked around warily at the restless monsters and tightened his grip on the girl in his arms. The sudden tightening of the waist caused Yan Xiaoyi's face to turn slightly pale. She raised her head and looked at the way Xiao Jin looked around. He placed the elemental energy pill into his mouth. "Slut Jin." She suddenly spoke with the origin energy pill in her mouth. Xiao Jin's attention was focused on the surrounding monsters. When he heard Yan Xiaoyi's call, he turned to look at her. The next moment, his neck tightened. The woman hooked her arms around his neck. Then, the woman's lips, stained with blood, pressed against his lips. "Yan Xiaoyi." Xiao Jin's lips were sealed by the woman and he roared the woman's name indistinctly. His eyes widened. She was too reckless. Yan Xiaoyi closed her eyes and used the tip of her tongue to push the elemental energy pill into his mouth. She did not give Xiao Jin any chance to react. The elemental energy pill had already slid down Xiao Jin's throat. Chapter 1847. After the pill entered Xiao Jin's mouth, Yan Xiaoyi seemed to have exhausted all her energy and fell into Xiao Jin's arms. She panted lightly and smiled brightly. "Slut Jin, you said you would protect me, so now, you have to protect me." Xiao Jin's pupils constricted and his hands couldn't stop hugging the woman in his arms. "Slut Jin, put me down," Yan Xiaoyi struggled lightly. "Don't move." Xiao Jin frowned. The surrounding monsters couldn't take it anymore. "I'm fine, I can still fight." Yan Xiaoyi frowned. "I just wanted to test whether you have me in your heart. I lied to you on purpose." "You?" Xiao Jin's eyes darkened when he heard that, but he quickly looked at her suspiciously. Obviously, he didn't believe her. "If I didn't do this, how would I get the truth out of you?" Yan Xiaoyi rolled her eyes at him. "If I really didn't have any energy, do you think you wouldn't resist when I put the pill in your mouth?" Her explanation was indeed reasonable. Xiao Jin's gaze sized up Yan Xiaoyi. He realized that Yan Xiaoyi's spirit was indeed much better than before when she looked like she was about to die at any moment. "If you really want to die here with me, I don't mind you hugging me to die together." Yan Xiaoyi raised her brows and revealed a teasing smile. You, Xiao Jin glared at her, his heart was both happy and angry. Happy that Yan Xiaoyi was fine. Angry that she dared to use her body to joke with him under such circumstances. What if these monsters went berserk? Did she really not take her own life seriously? Xiao Jin let go of Yan Xiaoyi's body. "Don't try to be brave. If you can't do it, just hide by my side and don't leave me. Women can't say no." Yan Xiaoyi's brows curved into a teasing smile and immediately summoned the black sickle blade. "Stop talking nonsense, the monsters won't give us any more time to rest." Yan Xiaoyi's spirited look made Xiao Jin completely relax. He who had consumed the pill. At this moment, the profound energy in his body was in a state of swelling and tumbling. Pinching 3 gold coin darts with his fingertips, he had already charged towards the direction of the monsters. He didn't notice. The moment he flew away, a figure appeared in front of him. The woman wielding the black scythe swayed slightly. His face, which was pretending to be calm, instantly turned as pale as paper. He did not look half as spirited as he was just now. It was indeed Qing Luo's medicinal pill. It was just that when it entered her mouth, there was a trace of taste. Can let her maintain a short spirit. Fortunately, he deceived Xiao Jin. She took a light breath and gripped the black scythe tightly. Using the strength of the black scythe, she supported her shaky body. Her gaze fell on the man who was fighting with the monster. She absolutely could not become Xiao Jin's burden. No matter what, she wanted Xiao Jin to live on. Yan Xiaoyi raised the black scythe blade and used the last of her willpower to join the battle to kill the monsters. Countless monsters attacked without any pause. Countless streams of blood spurted out. The monsters were torn apart and emitted a nauseating stench of blood. However, in the next instant, the pieces of flesh that had been torn apart reassembled into a new monster. No matter how he tried, he couldn't kill it. Just at this moment, Yan Xiaoyi's shoulder was scratched by a monster's sharp claw. She groaned in pain and quickly retreated a few steps. The black scythe blade suddenly stabbed into an empty surface. Chapter 1848. Xiao Yi. Xiao Jin noticed Yan Xiaoyi's situation and immediately rushed in her direction. But very quickly, he was blocked by the 2 huge beasts in front of him. These 2 beasts, after a long time of fighting and devouring in the battle plain, already had their own consciousness. Beasts' intuition was the most sensitive. They deeply felt the dangerous aura emanating from Xiao Jin. Naturally, they would not give him a chance to get close to the human woman. Kill one first, then the other. Xiao Jin was blocked, and immediately became anxious. The attack in his hand also increased the killing intent in this instant. Yan Xiaoyi's delicate body swayed slightly, leaning against the black sickle blade, and stood up straight. The blood on her shoulder slid down along her arm. The blood fell on the black sickle blade. At this moment, Yan Xiaoyi was trying hard to maintain her consciousness, and did not realize that when her blood seeped into the black sickle blade, the black sickle blade faintly flashed a hint of black light. In a flash, Yan Xiaoyi's blood was sucked into the black sickle blade. In another flash, it sucked in blood again. Gradually, as the blood was sucked in, the black sickle blade suddenly burst out with a strong black light. Like a gloomy death aura, it shrouded the black sickle blade. That light projected a strong aura of hostility and despair. It penetrated the entire space of nothingness. Those monsters who originally wanted to rush forward and devour Yan Xiaoyi when she could not fight. The moment they got close to Yan Xiaoyi, they were sent flying by the black aura around Yan Xiaoyi. Wherever the black aura went, the weather changed in an instant. The monsters that were sent flying were instantly torn to pieces by the black aura. What was even more terrifying was, the monsters that were torn to pieces by the black aura were actually wrapped by the black aura. In an instant, the shattered remains of the monsters had already disappeared in the space. The black aura was devouring the monsters. Yan Xiaoyi also felt the black sickle blade in her palm stirring. She took a deep breath and raised her eyes to look at the black sickle blade in her hand that was emitting an extremely strong death aura. She could clearly feel that the aura of the black sickle blade was getting stronger. Yan Xiaoyi's pupils shrank slightly. The black sickle blade actually evolved into a legendary weapon? Just one step away from becoming a divine weapon. What was going on? Could it be the black sickle blade's consciousness of protecting its master? Moreover, the black sickle blade could devour those monsters. Does this mean that they don't have to deal with the monster's constant recombination? This knowledge caused joy to surface in Yan Xiaoyi's eyes. She gripped the black sickle blade tightly as she silently cheered herself on. You can definitely do it, you must let Xiao Jin live on, at least. At least hang on till Qing Luo comes to save Xiao Jin. He swung the black scythe at the monster. With a flash of black light, the entire group of monsters was swallowed by the black light. This kind of battle immediately attracted even more monsters, who pounced at them. Xiao Jin looked at the beasts that kept charging at him, as well as the two huge beasts. He kept dodging. The coin dart in his hand was also constantly cutting down other monsters. But it was obvious that he was tired. Seeing this, the two huge beasts immediately ordered more monsters to chase after Xiao Jin. He wanted to take down Xiao Jin when he had lost his strength. Over 100 monsters surrounded Xiao Jin. Inside and outside, there were at least 3 layers of people. On Xiao Jin's ordinary face, there wasn't even a single bit of frightened expression. His eyes suddenly flashed past a biting cold glint. Following that, with a leap, he broke through hundreds of monsters, leaping up. Star. Chapter 1849. His slender fingers were holding 10 gold coin darts. The flames all over Xiao Jin's body suddenly soared at this moment. That invisible, enormous power was breathtaking, unable to look directly at it. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, a few sounds pierced through the air. Those 10 gold coin darts merged with chi, and in a split second, rushed into the hundreds of monsters. Bang bang bang. Roar roar roar. Awo. Awo. Deafening screams suddenly resounded throughout the entire space. Those hundreds of monsters, in an instant, were torn into pieces by the 10 gold coin darts. Not a single one was left alive. At the same time, a black scythe blade, emitting the aura of death, pierced through the air. The black scythe blade floated among the thousands of monster limbs. The majestic aura of death immediately enveloped all the wreckage around it. Xiao Jin scurried out of the black scythe blade's aura of death, a relaxed smile on his face. He raised his eyebrows in Yan Shaoyi's direction. This tacit understanding is amazing. The two huge monsters roared angrily a few times. They finally understood that Xiao Jin had deliberately pretended to be physically weak just now, and then lured them all to surround him, and then killed them in one go. And then used Yan Shaoyi's black scythe blade to completely devour those hundreds of monsters. Not only did it save their energy, it also made the black scythe blade's power continuously increase. Shameless humans. They must devour these two humans. The huge eyes of the huge monsters shot out a beam of furious light. Yan Shaoyi looked at Xiao Jin's smiling face, and she wanted to return a smile. But when she threw the black scythe blade over, she had already exhausted all her strength. And without the support of the black scythe blade, Yan Shaoyi's entire body was powerless, and she half knelt on the ground. Shaoyi. Xiao Jin's pupils suddenly constricted, and the expression on his face was full of panic. The two huge monsters also saw Yan Shaoyi's current situation, and immediately summoned ordinary monsters to attack Yan Shaoyi. More than 10 monsters surrounded Yan Shaoyi. After the black scythe blade devoured those wreckage, it immediately rushed back to its owner's side. But, even though the black scythe blade's power had increased, Yan Shaoyi still had no strength to fight. And at this moment, there were still 2 monsters attacking Yan Shaoyi from behind. Sharp claws, sharp fangs, flickering with a cold light. Seeing that it was about to pierce into Yan Shaoyi's back. Shaoyi. Xiao Jin gave a heart-wrenching roar as he rushed towards Yan Shaoyi's direction. Hearing this voice, Yan Shaoyi knew that she was definitely in danger. Yan Shaoyi took a deep breath and gripped the black scythe tightly. His body followed closely behind, and he dodged to the side. The sharp claws scratched Yan Shaoyi's arm. Blood flowed out and dyed Xiao Jin's eyes red. Xiao Jin roared and stretched out his hand to stop Yan Xiaoyi's falling body. Xiao Yi. Are you alright? Xiao Jin carefully stared at Yan Xiaoyi, his eyes filled with worry. Yan Xiaoyi shook her head and relied on the strength of the black scythe to maintain her standing posture. I'm fine. How do you look like you're fine? Xiao Jin stretched out his hand and caressed Yan Xiaoyi's face. Yan Xiaoyi shrunk back a little. I'm really fine. Don't forget, before we came in, we even took the 100 antidote pill that Xiaoyi refined. Apart from detoxifying effects, the 100 antidote pill also has the effect of nourishing the body. She smiled faintly and spoke very seriously. Xiao Jin frowned. Why had he never heard that the 100 antidote pill had the effect of nourishing the body? But, they already didn't have time to think. Chapter 1850. If you can't hold on, hold me tight. You can climb on my back at any time. Xiao Jin said in a low voice, and began to rush into the monster hunt. Yan Xiaoyi's face was pale. She looked at the black scythe in her hand, and slowly closed her eyes. The 100 solution pill indeed did not have that effect. What she said was a lie to Xiao Jin. At this time, if she did not let Xiao Jin relax, Xiao Jin would be distracted by her, and both of them would die in the monster horde. Her only way now was, to combine her and the black scythe into one. To let the black scythe use this body of hers to fight. A gust of deathly air shot out from the black scythe. That deathly air, in a split second, followed Yan Xiaoyi's hand, and spread throughout her entire body. When Xiao Jin noticed the change in the woman's aura behind him, and turned around, Yan Xiaoyi had already combined with the black scythe. Her beautiful eyes, in the pitch-black void, were extremely dazzling. As her eyes moved, the deathly air flowed. That originally extremely beautiful face, was now even more exquisite. Her temperament also underwent an earth-shattering change at this moment. If the previous Yan Xiaoyi was like a mischievous and adorable girl, then the current Yan Xiaoyi was like the night god who blended into the night, and also like a Rakshasa from hell. Her entire body was filled with a frighteningly cold aura. Xiaoyi. Xiao Jin's expression changed slightly, not understanding Yan Xiaoyi's sudden change. Shut up. The clear voice was sinister and cold. Take care of yourself, don't drag me down. This was indeed Yan Xiaoyi's voice. And he had seen this voice coming from Yan Xiaoyi's mouth with his own eyes. But this tone, these words. It did not sound like something Yan Xiaoyi would say. He was full of questions, but Yan Xiaoyi did not give him time to answer them. Yan Xiaoyi had already grasped the black scythe tightly, and started a frenzied massacre. Xiao Jin was speechless, and could only cooperate. The two fought side by side, and gave their backs to each other. Even Xiao Jin was extremely curious about Yan Xiaoyi's current change. But, such a change did not affect the tacit understanding between the two. The cooperation of the two, the brutal massacre. There was no end to it. This battle was incomparably fierce, and the time limit was extremely long. In the chaotic battle, no matter how strong the two of them were, it was inevitable that they would be injured. The movements of the two of them gradually slowed down. Yan Xiaoyi put her body and mind under the control of the black sickle blade. However, this method could not last for too long. After a long time, the two of them were covered in scattered scars. The sight of human blood made the monsters howl even louder. More and more monsters appeared around them. Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin kept thinking of ways to break through the monsters and attack the two huge monsters. As long as he killed those two monsters, he would be able to kill them. These monsters would definitely worship them as kings. However, they couldn't get close at all. The two huge monsters were protected by the tens of thousands of monsters. Death was like a rock, pressing down on their hearts. The black sickle blade knew its master's thoughts. If he didn't protect Xiao Jin until he ran out of energy, then Xiao Jin would be safe. She must not fall. Xiao Jin had the same thoughts. He must ensure Yan Xiaoyi's safety. Both of them were forcing themselves to hold on. In the battle, the black sickle blade constantly devoured the monsters to replenish its strength. Suddenly, the huge monster that had been wandering around the periphery. Unknowingly, it had already rushed into the group of monsters, quietly attacking Yan Xiaoyi's back. Chapter 1851. Both of them were already exhausted. Yan Xiaoyi had no way of reacting to the sneak attack of the humongous monster. The huge monster's sharp claws slashed towards Yan Xiaoyi's back. Yan Xiaoyi is about to be torn into pieces. Xiao Jin suddenly grabbed Yan Xiaoyi's wrist and pulled Yan Xiaoyi into his embrace with force. At this moment, the deathly aura in Yan Xiaoyi's eyes suddenly dissipated. What replaced it was a pair of clear and beautiful eyes. The aura of the black sickle blade dissipated. Now, Yan Xiaoyi was just Yan Xiaoyi. Yan Xiaoyi's delicate body softened as she fell into his arms. Before he could react to what had happened, she only felt a gush of hot blood splatter on her face. Yan Xiaoyi's heart trembled as her eyes widened. The gigantic monster's attack pierced through Xiao Jin's shoulder. That warm blood was Xiao Jin's blood. Yan Xiaoyi's heart felt as if it was being torn apart by an ice-cold hand. No. Xiao Jin, no, why did he save her? Why did he have to use his body to save her again and again? She didn't need it at all, she was clearly about to die. She wouldn't be able to survive until she left the battle plane. He thought back to the attack from the Nightwalker in the secret room. He stood in front of her without hesitation. Now, he once again stood in front of her. Yan Xiaoyi's eyes were covered with a layer of mist. Bean-sized teardrops rolled down uncontrollably. His tears mixed with the blood on his face, making him look extremely pathetic. Are you stupid? Don't you dislike me? Why do you always treat me like this? Why did you save me? After crying bitterly, her voice turned into a low whimper. This time, it was because of their brotherhood. What about the second time? Was this still brotherly love? She didn't believe it. Xiao Jin clearly liked her. However, Xiao Jin did not answer her. Instead, he raised his hand and gently stroked the blood on her face. He smiled warmly and asked, "Are you all right?" His gaze and tone were filled with urgency and eagerness. Yan Xiaoyi's tears fell even more violently. Even at this time, he was still thinking about whether she was all right. He was clearly the one who was in trouble. Yan Xiaoyi's eyes were misty with tears as she held Xiao Jin's hand tightly. Her voice was firm and slow. "Slut Jin, you've repeatedly risked your life to save me. Are you telling me that in your heart, you actually don't dislike me?" She curled her lips slightly. She suddenly raised her hand and placed it on his face. Her slender fingers caressed his face. It was clearly ordinary and had nothing special about it. Why did she fall in love with him? Yan Xiaoyi wanted to smile, but she no longer had the strength to maintain the smile on her face. Xiao Jin opened his mouth and was about to speak. But Yan Xiaoyi's finger stopped it. But in the next instant, a pill was pushed down his throat by Yan Xiaoyi's finger. Xiao Jin had yet to regain his senses. Yan Xiaoyi was already smiling lightly as she shook her head. "Slut Jin, don't deny it, at least, at the very last moment, let me believe that you really like me, you." Xiao Jin's thin lips moved slightly, wanting to explain something. Suddenly, a scorching burning feeling spread out from the profound jade heart that was wrapped around his heart. He thought of the pill that Yan Xiaoyi had stuffed into his mouth just now. "Xiaoyi. What are you doing?" Yan Xiaoyi didn't know where the strength came from, but she suddenly raised her hand and forcefully pushed Xiao Jin away. "Xiaoyi, don't mess around. Xiao Jin steadied his feet and was just about to step forward and pull Yan Xiaoyi back. But he saw Yan Xiaoyi take a few steps back. She smiled lightly and shook her head. Star. Chapter 1852. Her smile was extremely beautiful, but it revealed an unconcealable determination. That smile nearly bewitched Xiao Jin's eyes. Xiao Jin's heart viciously felt a throbbing pain spreading throughout his body. His body stood stiffly on the spot, unable to move. He had interacted with Yan Xiaoyi for so many years. How could Xiao Jin not see what Yan Xiaoyi wanted to do now? His heart was in pain, his thin lips trembling. He wanted to pull Yan Xiaoyi back. However, the burning sensation in his body made it impossible for him to control his body. It was the pill that Yan Xiaoyi had just fed him. That pill that was of a higher grade than the essence energy pill. Just as he swallowed it down his throat, he could clearly feel the profound energy in his body surging violently like waves, crashing into every vein and tendon in his body. Xiao Jin looked at Yan Xiaoyi in a daze. His eyes were filled with pain. Since she had such a strong pill on her, why didn't she swallow it after being injured? Why did she give him all the elixir pills? If she died, because of him, she died in front of him. Did she think that he would live alone? Yan Xiaoyi looked deeply at Xiao Jin's face, like she wanted to remember his face in her mind with one last look. His lips trembled as he silently spat out the two words, Xiaoyi. Although it was silent. But Yan Xiaoyi heard it extremely clearly. It seemed to have given her a lot of courage. Yan Xiaoyi slightly closed her beautiful eyes, a thin mist spreading at the bottom of her eyes. However, her smile was extremely beautiful and moving. Xiao Jin, if you can get out of here alive, please remember, there is a girl called Yan Xiaoyi who has always loved you. A drop of blood dripped from the corner of her eye. Like a blooming datura flower, unparalleled in beauty. After that, she turned around and leaped up. After thousands of monsters, those two huge monsters didn't even have time to react. They saw the figure of a human girl appear in front of them. They bared their fangs and were about to tear the girl in front of them into pieces. Only to see an intense light shoot out from the girl's body. No! Xiaoyi. Looking at that light shoot out and light up the entire empty space, a low roar exploded from Xiao Jin's throat. Yan Xiaoyi actually wanted to self-destruct. He wanted to use self-destruction to kill the two huge monsters. She wanted to create a way for him to live. Xiao Jin's pupils dilated bit by bit. In an instant, everything in front of him gradually disappeared. His eyes could only see the beautiful smile on Yan Xiaoyi's face, as well as the glow from her self-destruction. No, Yan Xiaoyi cannot die. He could not imagine a life without Yan Xiaoyi. He said he would protect her. He had said that both of them would definitely survive. He could not go back on his word. He could not go back on his word to Yan Xiaoyi. He wanted to live. He wanted Yan Xiaoyi to live. His strong willpower caused the medicinal effect of the pill in Xiao Jin's body to surge even more crazily. Suddenly, Xiao Jin felt all the blood in his body flow in reverse. All the pores on his body felt like they were about to explode. A powerful and majestic force instantly eroded everything about him. Xiao Jin's aura instantly swelled and became majestic. His robe fluttered in the wind, making a loud sound. His ink-black hair fluttered wildly like seaweed. That ordinary-looking face appeared exceptionally bewitching and strange. It gave off a suffocating sense of charm. The change in Xiao Jin's temperament caused Yan Xiaoyi to be slightly startled. However, what shocked her even more was, Star. Chapter 1853. Xiao Jin's inky black eyes were actually covered by a circle of golden light. His eyes flickered with an extremely dazzling luster. Golden eyes. A pair of golden eyes. Not waiting for Yan Xiaoyi to be astonished. That man emitting enormous golden light all over was already flying straight over. His robes flapping in the wind showed how fast the man was. The surrounding monsters didn't even have a chance to approach Xiao Jin. Just as they neared, they were sent flying by the golden light around Xiao Jin. The monsters that were slightly closer were directly torn to pieces by the golden light. Then, the black scythe edge swiftly followed, completely devouring the shattered remains of the monsters. A hand tightly wrapped around Yan Xiaoyi's slender waist. Slut Jin, you can't. In the instant that Xiao Jin's hand wrapped around Yan Xiaoyi's waist, Yan Xiaoyi's pupils suddenly widened. Her hand struggled with all her might, wanting to push Xiao Jin away. She was mobilizing the power of her profound heart jade, wanting to detonate it and self-destruct. If Xiao Jin came over, he would be detonated by her as well. But, in the next instant, Yan Xiaoyi saw the golden light on Xiao Jin's body collide with the profound heart jade detonating light released from her body. With a bang, a wave of air rolled. The detonating light released from Yan Xiaoyi's body was abruptly torn apart, and suddenly dissipated. Ugh! Yan Xiaoyi's chest tightened, and a mouthful of blood sprayed onto Xiao Jin's body. The profound heart jade in her chest stopped its restless detonation. Yan Xiaoyi's entire body instantly softened, and she collapsed into Xiao Jin's embrace. Xiao Jin tightened his arms. Roar! The two enormous monsters felt that these two humans didn't put them in their eyes at all. Wasn't this looking down on the two monster leaders? The two enormous monsters instantly withdrew their many years of fighting, and gathered together to attack in the direction of the two humans. Careful! Yan Xiaoyi nestled in Xiao Jin's embrace, clearly seeing the two enormous monsters heading straight for Xiao Jin's back. She quickly spread her 5 fingers, and rushed forward, black scythe edge. The black scythe edge floated in midair, and with a flip, it flew towards Yan Xiaoyi's palm. Xiao Jin's arms tightly wrapped around the woman in his embrace. His deep voice was extremely calm. Don't move. Leave everything to me. This was an expression and tone that Xiao Jin had never used before. Yan Xiaoyi was stunned. She raised her head with difficulty and looked at Xiao Jin's face. The pair of golden eyes reflected her face. A luster that was as bright as the rising sun, caused Yan Xiaoyi's cheeks to heat up. Clearly, it was still that ordinary face. But why did it exude a suffocating charm? Was this the change in temperament that had occurred? Yan Xiaoyi felt that her cheeks were getting hotter and she immediately buried her face in his arms. He said, "Leave it to him." She believed him. Xiao Jin must have improved. Just now, he had used his own strength to interrupt her from detonating her profound heart jade. It could be seen that Xiao Jin's current strength was absolutely not low. Ants like you dare to compete with the sun and moon? Xiao Jin's deep voice was like it shook the heavens and the earth, resounding throughout the entire void. After that, the golden light in his eyes flickered even brighter. A ray of golden light broke through the darkness of nothingness. It illuminated the battle plane extremely brightly. Rumble. The battle plane began to shake unceasingly. The surrounding void actually began to split open one after another. The two enormous monsters were also sent flying by the golden light. They still hadn't even had time to steady their feet. Xiao Jin's figure blurred, and he chased after the two enormous monsters in hot pursuit. Immediately, a foot suffused with golden light had already stepped on the monsters' heads. Star. Chapter 1854. Roar, roar, the monster that was stepped on let out a sharp scream. In the next instant, the monster's head was directly penetrated by the golden light. Blood immediately splashed out. The huge monster's body trembled a few times on the void plane, then it could no longer move. Seeing this, the other huge monster turned around and wanted to escape, but before it could move, its huge body was sucked in by a suction force. Roar! The mournful scream was extremely sharp. The monsters in the surroundings were all shocked to the core. The huge monster was instantly cut into pieces by the golden light that burst out from Xiao Jin's body. All around, there was silence. The monsters quietly stared at the two huge monsters whose flesh and blood were flying everywhere, waiting for the two monsters to recombine. These two monsters had already existed since they had consciousness. In this battle plane, the two monsters had been fighting for at least 500 years. This time, they met a strong enemy of the human race. The kings of these two battle planes would definitely recombine into one monster to fight against the enemy together. However, time passed minute by minute. The two monsters that were torn into pieces were like dead meat, and there was no way to recombine. The monsters were horrified, and they all took a few steps back. Xiao Jin held Yan Xiaoyi and slowly turned around. The corners of his mouth raised slightly, and his golden eyes were shining. Who else wants to go? Silence. A strange silence. The monster's perception was extremely sharp. They deeply felt a dangerous aura from Xiao Jin's body. They knew that if they got close to Xiao Jin, the layer of golden light around Xiao Jin's body would shake them away. If they angered this golden-eyed human man, and it was very likely that they would become dead meat. Who dared to go up? Xiao Jin's golden eyes swept the surrounding monsters, and he hugged the woman in his arms tightly. Step by step, he walked in the direction where thousands of monsters surrounded him. Xiao Jin just walked in that direction. The surrounding monsters automatically separated and opened up a path. Xiao Jin was like the king of this void space, holding his beloved queen, surrounded by thousands of beasts, and slowly walked forward. This scene made Yan Xiaoyi extremely shocked. One must know that just a moment ago, they were still surrounded by these monsters, and she almost self-destructed to save Xiao Jin's life. And the next moment, all the monsters treated Xiao Jin like a king. The thousands of monsters around them were still looking at each other. Slut Jin, who exactly are you? Yan Xiaoyi pursed her lips and fixed her beautiful eyes on Xiao Jin's face. His golden eyes were exceptionally dazzling. She loved those eyes of his. It was as if he could steal her soul, hook her heart, and capture her soul. Xiao Jin's ordinary face stiffened slightly. Then, he lowered his head and looked at her with his golden eyes. Don't you think I'm scary like this? Scary? Yan Xiaoyi lifted her hand and touched the corner of his eye. Why do you say that about yourself? If you think the golden pupils are scary, aren't you implying that the class leader's blue pupils are also scary? Her fingertips were extremely gentle. However, her tone was already tainted with a bit of mischief. After we leave this damn place, I'll definitely tell the class monitor about how scary your eyes are. The smile on the woman's face caused Xiao Jin's lips to curl up unconsciously. It was great that she was fine. As long as she was fine, she was still alive. He did not hesitate to expose his identity and use his own power. That was the right choice. As long as Xiao Yi was still alive and well. Even if he was captured and turned into a puppet. Chapter 1855. Suddenly, Xiao Jin felt the weight in his arms lighten. A pair of soft little hands circled around his neck. He came back to his senses and saw Yan Xiaoyi's exquisite face right in front of him. Her slightly pale lips lightly imprinted on his eyes. Bitch Jin, I like your eyes very much, very much, very much. The woman's soft voice was pleasant to listen to. Like a zither string lightly plucking a certain softness in Xiao Jin's heart. His heart trembled slightly and his hands instinctively tightened around her slender waist. The man's response caused Yan Xiaoyi's heart to suddenly jump with joy. But, before her joy could reach her head, The hands on her waist suddenly loosened. Xiao Jin frantically pushed her away, pulling apart the distance between the two of them. Can you walk now? His voice was mixed with a bit of dryness. Yan Xiaoyi's brows tightened. What did his words mean? Wasn't everything fine just now? Why did all of a sudden, why did his attitude towards her become cold and hard again? My power can't maintain this change for a long time. Xiao Jin saw the pain in her eyes and thought of her resolute confessions again and again. His heart throbbed with increasing pain. He didn't want to explain and wanted Yan Xiaoyi to misunderstand him like this. But, he still couldn't help it. We have to find a way to leave this plane as soon as possible. Otherwise, the two of us will be in danger again. The woman he loved also loved him. And it was an unforgettable love. But, he couldn't express his joy nor the slightest bit of his feelings. The moment the golden eyes appeared, everyone was stunned. Between him and Yan Xiaoyi, there was already truly, no longer any possibility. He couldn't give Yan Xiaoyi any more hope. Hearing this, Yan Xiaoyi restrained the pain in her eyes and hurriedly withdrew from his embrace. I'm fine, how much longer can your power hold out for? Yan Xiaoyi was extremely astonished by this mysterious golden power of Xiao Jin's. Just now, when Xiao Jin had stopped her from detonating the profound jade heart, he took the opportunity to send his own golden light into her body. At that time, the external and internal injuries on Yan Xiaoyi's body had more or less healed under the golden light's treatment. Right now, she could stabilize her figure. Soon. Xiao Jin looked at the golden light in his palm and took a deep breath. But, very soon, someone will come, he paused and smiled bitterly. They saved us. Qing Luo. Lord Dizun will come. Yan Xiaoyi's delicate brows furrowed slightly as she didn't understand the reason for Xiao Jin's bitter laugh. Wasn't it something to be happy about when someone rescued them from this plane? Xiao Jin shook his head with a smile and did not reply. Indeed, in less than an hour, the golden light on Xiao Jin's body had already gradually dispersed. The domineering aura around him also gradually subsided. The surrounding monsters that were initially obedient also keenly noticed the change in Xiao Jin and turned their gazes towards him. Slut Jin. Do you think they will? Yan Xiaoyi looked at the thousands of eyes of the monsters and felt a little scared. I will, Xiao Jin replied calmly. These monsters were not like the two huge monsters from before, which had their own consciousness. They relied solely on their senses and intuition to determine danger. When the feeling of fear on Xiao Jin's body disappeared, they would treat Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi as enemies once again. Just as Xiao Jin finished speaking. Chapter 1856. Were they going to continue fighting? Yan Xiaoyi gripped the black sickle blade tightly as she looked at those monsters vigilantly. When will Qing Luo and the Overlord rush over? Xiao Jin looked at his palm. The eyes that had returned to black were full of deep meaning that Yan Xiaoyi couldn't understand. It should be, almost. Are you hiding something from me? Yan Xiaoyi kept feeling that ever since Xiao Jin's golden light had dispersed, his mood was extremely downcast. This depression was not caused by the loss of great power. It was as if he was about to lose something precious. His entire person was shrouded in a gloomy feeling. Your golden eye, your power, Yan Xiaoyi pursed her red lips tightly. Could it be? The person who came to save us, isn't Qing Luo, not the Overlord. Don't even think about it. Xiao Jin had already pulled her behind him and raised his hand to attack the monster in front of him. At this moment, it was indeed not the time for them to start the "you ask and I answer" mode. These monsters would not give them the chance or the time to do so. Yan Xiaoyi, who was gradually recovering her strength, raised the black scythe blade and stood back to back with Xiao Jin as they began to kill the monsters in front of them. At this moment, a silver light suddenly descended from the sky. Then, the silver light wrapped around the two of them. At an extremely fast speed, a rectangular space was formed. It was about big enough for one person to stand on. Bang, 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 the monsters rammed into them. However, before it could get close, it was sent flying by the silver light. Yan Xiaoyi was slightly taken aback as she raised her hand to touch the hard protective cover. What? What is this? What happened? It felt extremely smooth, like the skin of a woman. Yan Xiaoyi was stunned. How could such a smooth thing block the attacks of those monsters? She turned her head and looked at Xiao Jin. Slut Jin, this is the thing that you said, will come and save us? Xiao Jin looked at the shining silver object and shook his head decisively. No. Could it be Qing Luo? Yan Xiaoyi couldn't bear to let go. Xiao Jin glanced at his surroundings. The monsters who wanted to charge forward were sent flying again. He sensed his surroundings. He discovered that this barrier was completely isolated from the outside world. Here, he could not sense the aura of those monsters. And the monsters couldn't get close. This realization made Xiao Jin heave a heavy sigh of relief. He slowly leaned against the protective barrier and sat down. He didn't dare to be too relaxed. But at least they were safe for now. All the exhaustion in his body was completely released in this instant. From the moment they entered this battle plane, they had been extremely tense. Constant battles, emotional tension, and emotional collapse. Both of them were physically and mentally exhausted. Seeing Xiao Jin sit down by the side, Yan Xiaoyi also leaned close to him and slowly sat down. Xiao Jin's closed eyes trembled slightly, but he did not speak. Yan Xiaoyi smiled and leaned her head on his shoulder. She hugged one of his arms. It was a rare moment of peace, and neither of them spoke a single word. The ancestral tomb. Yiqing Luo alighted from Yuming's car. She narrowed her eyes and looked at the tomb that was about halfway up the mountain. So this is how the ancestors' tomb looks like from below. Last time, he heard that the group of old men from the Yi clan came to their ancestors' tomb. Yiqing Luo totally didn't put it to heart. From the start to the end, she had been sleeping in the plane. Until she was thrown off the plane by those old men from the Yi family, and forcefully stuffed into the ancestors' tomb. As for the location of the ancestors' tomb, as a descendant of the Yi family, she totally didn't know. Chapter 1857. I also spent a long time to find the real location of the late emperor's tomb. Yuming pushed the door open and stood beside Yiqing Luo, raising his head to look at the tomb hanging in the middle of the mountain. Most people are unable to get close to this place, so no archaeologists have discovered the remains here. How did you discover it? Yiqing Luo raised her brows. She was very curious about what Yuming wanted from the ancestral tomb. He actually made it so mysterious, not letting her know about it. Apparently, it was an extremely important thing. Yuming didn't want to say, so she couldn't force him to ask. After all, she had forcefully contracted the Ming mirror which he had been carrying for so many years. Yuming's scarlet eyes flickered slightly, because I'm not an ordinary person. Amen. This was a reasonable answer. Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders, knowing that he didn't want to talk more. She couldn't be bothered to. With a leap, her sleeves fluttered in the wind. She had already landed steadily in the middle of the mountain, at the entrance of the ancestral tomb. Dmo Xian followed closely. Yuming naturally wouldn't fall behind. Standing at the entrance of the tomb, the three of them and a misty array eye. Why was the array eye brought to the ancestral tomb? Yiqing Luo's original words were like this: "This plain is your turf, who knows which corner you are hiding in? If you don't let us find you, how are we going to find you? If we can't find you, how are we going to the battle plain? So, you'd better follow us obediently. Let my darling keep an eye on you. After I come out from the west tomb, send us directly to the battle plane. Everything depends on you. Yu Ming stared at the tomb entrance. The expression on his face was a rare solemn. Yi Qing Luo waved her hand, looking at Dmo Xian. Xian, I'll go in first. They didn't have much time. Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi's battle plane could at most last for another 3 days. She had to hurry and rush to the battle plane. Dmo Xian's brows creased slightly, his peach blossom eyes were filled with worry. The ancestral tomb gave him an extremely uncomfortable feeling. You're at ease. Yi Qing Luo walked over, putting her arm around his firm waist. This isn't my first time here, although it's been a long time, but the route is all in my mind. The old men of the Yi clan naturally had a map of the Yi clan's ancestral tomb. Back then, when he had let her come in to retrieve the Yi family's heirloom, the Azure Dew bracelet, the old man had shown her a map. She was no stranger to the tomb of her ancestors. Dmo Xian ruffled her hair. Although he was extremely unwilling to let her enter, but he understood that Yi Qing Luo had to enter. Regardless of whether it was because of what he promised the netherworld, or perhaps a vast water divine artifact. She had to go on this trip to the tomb of her ancestors. Be careful, I'll be right here waiting for you. Dmo Xian lowered his head and gently kissed her forehead. Only those of the Yi clan's bloodline could enter the ancestral tomb. Even Dmo Xian was unable to follow Yi Qing Luo into the ancestral tomb. Yi Qing Luo assured him in every possible way and left Dmo Xian's embrace reluctantly. She turned around and walked towards the tomb of her ancestors. But before he could lift his leg, his wrist suddenly tightened. That's right, Lil Luo, take this with you. Dmo Xian's clear voice was extremely melodious. Yi Qing Luo's finger seemed to be circled by something. She looked down and saw that it was the azure water ring she had obtained from the tomb of the Ling King. Chapter 1858. Yi Qing Luo touched the azure aqua ring. She raised her eyes and looked at him teasingly. Do you know, in the plane where we are now, you personally put the azure aqua ring on my finger. What does that mean? Dmo Xian lifted her little hand and kissed it. Get married? Yi Qing Luo's eyes brightened slightly, somewhat astonished. You even know this? Dmo Xian stroked her finger. From the expression on your face, it's not hard to guess. Yi Qing Luo's cheeks suddenly flushed red. All right, just a simple sentence and he had already seduced her. She had to admit, towards Dmo Xian, she had no immunity at all. And this, bring it along too. Dmo Xian's palm moved, a furry little thing, leaped from his palm onto Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. Small body, furry fur. 9 tails, constantly rustling Yi Qing Luo's face. It tickled Yi Qing Luo's face and she couldn't stop smiling. She carried little 9 down from her shoulder. How can you summon little 9? In this plane, I only have a very subtle connection with my war pet. I can't even communicate with it, not to mention summon it out. Your mental power is still not enough. Wait till we return to Nirvana realm, cultivate your mental power, it will be of great help to your own profound energy, alchemy and weapon refining. Dmo Xian explained warmly. Yi Qing Luo hugged little 9 tightly, burying herself into Dmo Xian's arms. Ah Xian, you take care of me in every aspect, I will be too used to relying on you. She used her head to rub against his chest. I have said that I must be on par with you, you will spoil me like this. Dmo Xian tightened his wrist strength. The slender branch suddenly buckled Yi Qing Luo's lower jaw. He bent down and kissed her lips without hesitation. My woman, I naturally have to pamper her. If you can't get used to me, I should really reflect on myself, if I am still the one who can make you work hard, to be on par with me. Between his lips and teeth, his words were intoxicating. Yi Qing Luo blushed to her ears. She made Dmo Xian's heart burst with joy. She hugged little 9 tightly, giving him a resentful glare. Then she turned and ran towards the entrance of the tomb. It was as if there was a ferocious beast chasing after her. Watching Yi Qing Luo's back view disappearing behind the entrance of the tomb. The gentle smile on Dmo Xian's face suddenly disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by a frosty coldness. His peach blossom eyes coldly glanced at Netherworld, who was beside him. Anyone would be able to sense the chill in the atmosphere at this moment. However, Yu Ming seemed as though he had not sensed it at all. His scarlet eyes were filled with an envious smile as he looked at Dmo Xian. The relationship between you and Miss Yi is really enviable. I don't have the time to feign civility with you. I'm warning you. Dmo Xian's lips curled up coldly. For those who try to make use of little Luo, this lord will definitely have a way to make those who make use of her suffer a fate worse than death. Every word seemed to be squeezed out from the gaps between his teeth. Yu Ming's expression remained calm, as though he didn't understand the meaning behind Dmo Xian's words. In the ancestral tomb. According to Yi Qing Luo's memory, the ancestral tomb was divided into 3 areas. Outer perimeter, middle perimeter, inner perimeter. The ancestral coffin was in the inner perimeter. But the outer perimeter and middle perimeter were guarded by extremely powerful Li Lang. To get close to the inner perimeter, it was as difficult as ascending to heaven. The last time she entered the inner perimeter to obtain the Azure Dew bracelet, she had to rely on a lot of high technology before she could barely sneak in. She didn't know if this time, based on her mortal body, without any high technology, could she still enter the inner perimeter. Chapter 1859. After Yi Qing Luo entered the tomb, she rubbed the Azure Dew bracelet in an attempt to contact Old Man Tsang. This tomb was originally set up by the Yi family to bury their ancestors. Apart from the complex array that seemed to extend in all directions, there wasn't any particularly frightening or life-threatening mechanism. After all, this ancestral tomb could only be entered by the descendants of the Yi family. It was impossible for the ancestors to harm their own descendants. Yi Qing Luo had heard the Yi family's old men explain this array in detail. A giant formation protected the tomb of the ancestors extremely tightly. This was to prevent the Yi family's descendants from being greedy and vainly trying to obtain all the ancestral artifacts and bring disaster to the common people. Without the support of the Yi family's group of elders, even if the Yi family's descendants entered the ancestral tomb, it would only be a road to death. Because once they entered, they would be trapped in the tomb to death. Unless they found a way to break the array, there was no way out. This array, to Yi Qing Luo, existed in name only. She could leave at any time if she wanted to. But, what was difficult to deal with was the Yi family's ancestral spirit. And those Yi family's guardians. That was an extremely difficult existence to deal with. Even if she was the Yi family's current patriarch, in front of the ancestral spirit and the guardians, she was only a junior. Goodbye, it would be another torture. Yi Qing Luo stroked her forehead and looked at the circle of cherry blossom patterns on her wrist. The cherry blossom seemed to have a life of its own. The flowing red light was like an electric current jumping on the cherry blossom pattern. Those cherry blossom petals, vivid and lifelike, wrapped around her wrist and slowly rotated at an extremely slow speed. After entering the tomb, she clearly felt the Azure Dew bracelet's changes. The Azure Dew bracelet was obtained from the Yi family's ancestral coffin. It was rumored to be the most precious artifact of the ancestors. Yi Qing Luo had expected the Azure Dew bracelet to have a response to the ancestral tomb. Las, the old man Tsang who was in a deep sleep had indeed awakened under this response. Following his voice, a white mist transformed into old man Tsang's spirit body. He floated next to Yi Qing Luo, stretching his limbs and said with a satisfied look, "You lass, you actually brought me here to recuperate." "No, I specially brought you here to recuperate." Yi Qing Luo glanced at the spirit body next to her. "There is an Azure Dew artifact here, do you know where it is?" Only then did Old Man Tsang open his satisfied eyes and look around. Little girl. This is, the Yi family's ancestors' tomb. Yi Qing Luo nodded. That's right, I brought you out from here, and when I was surrounded by that bunch of old men to snatch you, I detonated the plane and perished together with that bunch of old men. Then you brought me to Nirvana realm. Old Man Tsang furrowed his white eyebrows and immediately said, how could it be me who brought you to the Nirvana realm? When you brought me out of my ancestor's tomb, I hadn't signed a contract with you yet. Pausing, he closed his mouth and coughed a few times. Forget it, forget it. This matter has passed. Try to sense where the azure water divine artifact is. Old Man Tsang's words made Yi Qing Luo frown. This old man, even changing the topic, was so awkward. It made people suspect that he had a guilty conscience. Earlier he said that she went to Nirvana realm, not because of the Audioboo bracelet's power. Then, why did she cross over to Nirvana realm when the plane exploded? Star. Chapter 1860. All along, she had always thought it was because of the Audioboo bracelet and didn't think much about it. But connecting it to Old Man Tsang's words and Yu Ming's words, she couldn't help but ponder over the profound meaning within. Her arrival in Nirvana realm wasn't by chance. Her arrival in the 21st century wasn't by chance either. There seemed to be something in the unseen world. He was pushing things forward. She was like a chess piece controlled by Yu Ming, following the rules and doing what she thought she should do, but in fact, it was something that had already been decided. This knowledge made Yi Qing Luo's heart feel somewhat depressed. She had never believed in fate. She had never been willing to do things according to other people's ideas. But at this time, she discovered that everything she had worked hard for was planned by someone else. Her mood was simply terrible. Lass. Old Man Tsang seemed to sense Yi Qing Luo's depressed mood. He didn't deliberately change the topic, but approached Yi Qing Luo with a serious expression. His voice was somewhat calm. There are some things, before your strength has grown to the point where it is sufficient to know, even if I tell you, it will be of no use. I know you are extraordinarily intelligent. Even if I don't say it, you will have some guesses in your heart. This guess, if I don't point it out, won't it allow you to improve more, to let you find out the truth in your heart, and unceasingly struggle? No matter what secrets your body hides, no matter why you transmigrated to Nirvana realm, no matter why you were sent back to the 21st century through the godless array. These, no matter what the reason is, you just have to remember, these are the goals that you need to strive to become stronger, isn't it? The road is walked by yourself. Life is also forged by yourself. No one can control your fate, no one can influence your thoughts. Why restrict yourself to the hands of others? No matter what you are experiencing now, whether or not it was pushed step by others, you just have to remember one thing: when everything happens, what you do, is what you feel you should do, what you want to do. Old Man Tsang's voice became increasingly calm and serious. His eyes, which had always been cloudy, now flashed with a solemn luster. He fixed his gaze on Yi Qing Luo's eyes as he spoke earnestly. Lass, I have always placed high hopes on you and believe that you will be able to carve out a spectacular path which belongs to you. From you, I can see miracles, miracles which I absolutely don't dare to believe. He paused as he raised his misty illusory hand and gently touched Yi Qing Luo's head. An extremely cold sensation gently covered Yi Qing Luo's head. Her heart gradually calmed down from the initial panic and uneasiness. Girl, do you still remember that you once said that when you had the ability, you would definitely reconstruct this old man's fleshly body and give it to this old man? As he spoke to this point, Old Man Tsang's voice was somewhat choked with emotion. This old man is the protector of the Audioboo bracelet. There is absolutely no way for me to become a person again and live like a person. But I believe that if it's you, you will definitely have the ability to do so. Even if you can't do it now, you will definitely be able to in the future. Your body is filled with unlimited hope and miracles. Old Man Tsang's sonorous and forceful, unwavering words made Yi Qing Luo's heart suddenly see the light. She raised her head and met with Old Man Tsang's hopeful gaze, her lips curled into a smile. That's right, no matter if there was someone pushing her fate in the unseen world. But, everything, wasn't it what she wanted to do? Her path was walked out by herself. Chapter 1861. Thank you. Old Man Tsang. Yi Qing Luo felt relieved. Old Man Tsang rubbed her head. It's good that you can think it through. The gaze he shot at Yi Qing Luo was filled with admiration and astonishment. He admired Yi Qing Luo for taking his words to heart, and was willing to listen to him sincerely, adjusting her own mentality. He was astonished by the fact that Yi Qing Luo was obviously not that old. In the 21st century, she was merely 20 years of age, and yet she had such a firm temperament. Moreover, in such a short period of time, he was able to quickly adjust his mood and understand what he wanted and his goals. This girl was indeed not simple. Her future would definitely be able to shake the entire Nirvana realm and even the upper realm. Yi Qing Luo's brows had already turned tranquil and elegant. He no longer had the gloominess and ruthlessness from before. Old Man Tsang's hand, with the unique coolness of a spirit body, calmed the restlessness in her heart little by little. Her lips curled up into a pure and bright smile. I've already thought it through. There's a saying in our plane, my fate is up to me, not the heavens. I am not someone who believes in fate. My fate is up to me, not the heavens. Coo, little Nine rubbed against Yi Qing Luo's face, seemingly happy for her. Yi Qing Luo hugged little Nine tightly and planted a kiss on its forehead. All right, I'm not suited to be sentimental. Let's find the location of the vast water god relic first and get the god relic first. Goo. Little Nine expressed his approval. Old Man Tsang's spirit body floated around her twice. I didn't expect that there would be an ocean water divine artifact in the ancestral tomb. How did you know that the ocean water divine artifact was here? Someone used the whereabouts of the azure water artifact to make a deal with me to bring him back to the Nirvana realm. Yi Qing Luo explained as she walked forward. Old Man Tsang was slightly startled. You met a profound practitioner from this plane? He took the initiative to trade with me. Yi Qing Luo took the opportunity to take out the Ming mirror. Xian even took the opportunity to let me contract the other party's Ming mirror. Nether mirror? Old Man Tsang cried out in surprise, and his body quickly scuttled in the direction of the underworld mirror. He stared at the nether mirror in astonishment. You too, are a match made in heaven. You can even form a contract with the nether mirror. In this plane, the power that Old Man Tsang sensed, the current Yi Qing Luo did not have the ability to compete with him. However, Yi Qing Luo had a heaven-defying presence by her side. Dmo Xian, that kid. He actually allowed Yi Qing Luo to contract the underworld mirror. Perhaps, this was really fate. Old Man Tsang chuckled and shook his head. He clicked his tongue and laughed out loud. Yi Qing Luo nodded as her brows rose. He's my man, so naturally I'm a match made in heaven. As she spoke, she locked onto Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin's position to check if the Netherworld's protective shield was reliable. After her spiritual consciousness locked in, Yi Qing Luo saw the image of Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin in the mirror. The two of them were nestled within the protective barrier. Yan Xiaoyi was in Xiao Jin's embrace, and Xiao Jin's hand was wrapped around Yan Xiaoyi's waist. Perhaps he had used up all his energy to fight. Both of their faces were filled with exhaustion. Leaning against each other, they slept soundly. This heartwarming image made Yi Qing Luo's lips unknowingly curled into a smile. She kept the netherworld mirror properly and raised her eyes to look at Old Man Tsang. From the looks of it, I don't need to rush to the battle plane to look for them. It was said that after going through life and death together, it would pull the distance between two people closer, deepening the feelings between two people. Xiao Jin liked Yan Xiaoyi. Yan Xiaoyi loved Xiao Jin too. They were in the midst of life and death, spending time alone would definitely improve their feelings. Star. Chapter 1862. One person and one spiritual body moved forward. She didn't notice that a bright crystal ball had rolled down from Yi Qing Luo's body. That crystal ball suddenly floated in mid-air and floated in the opposite direction of Yi Qing Luo. It didn't cause any reaction from Yi Qing Luo at all. Yi Qing Luo followed her memory and passed through the periphery without any danger. After reaching the middle area, the formation was obviously much more complicated. It was as if the array was pushing her towards the dead end. Fortunately, Yi Qing Luo knew the way to break the formation. After turning left and right for some time, he finally arrived at the inner layer. This layer was easy to reach, but not easy to enter. Because the inner layer was the ancestral tomb. At this entrance, there must be the Yi family's guardian and the soul of the Yi family. Thinking back to the little grudge with the Yi family's guardian, Yi Qing Luo had a creepy feeling in her heart. She hoped that the guardian in the tomb didn't have a good memory. After such a long time. Should have forgotten. Right? Yi Qing Luo moved towards the entrance of the inner layer with a guilty conscience. Old Man Tsang floated beside her. This was the first time he saw such a timid Yi Qing Luo. He teased her curiously, "Girl, what did you do to make you so scared?" Yi Qing Luo grabbed a strand of hair on her shoulder and blinked her eyes. "If I gave you freedom and tricked you into forming a contract with me, then after obtaining the power of the Audioboo bracelet, what would you do?" Old Man Tsang's mouth twitched and his beard also twitched. "I would kill you." Yes, the Yi family's guardian also wanted to kill me. Yi Qing Luo nodded seriously. In order to enter the ancestral tomb and obtain the Audioboo bracelet, she had used her silver tongue to fool the leader of the Yi family's guardians. She said that as the current head of the Yi family, after obtaining the Audioboo bracelet, she had the ability to represent the Yi family's ancestors and give them freedom. Of course, this was pure nonsense. After all, the ancestors were the ancestors. She was just an ordinary descendant of the Yi family. How could she bring the guardian out of the ancestral tomb and give the guardian freedom? Without the guardian, wouldn't the ancestral tomb be in danger? But the guardian boss had probably guarded the tomb for hundreds or even thousands of years and was tired of the job. When he heard that Yi Qing Luo used freedom as an exchange condition, he didn't even think about it and immediately agreed. It was imaginable that after Yi Qing Luo obtained the Audioboo bracelet, she escaped without a trace. The protector was unable to leave the ancestral tomb and could only watch Yi Qing Luo leave. The enmity between them was huge. Old Man Tsang's spirit body swayed and wrapped around the back of Yi Qing Luo's head. "I feel that I'd better go into the Audioboo bracelet to hide for a while." Don't. No matter what, you're still my master. In any case, you're the guardian of the Audioboo bracelet. You must have a common language with the guardian of the cemetery, right? How about, you put in a good word for him? Yi Qing Luo grabbed hold of Old Man Tsang, determined not to let him escape. "When I was in the tomb of my ancestors, I was always in a state of hibernation. I didn't communicate with the guardian of the tomb at all. How could we have a common language? You can't just watch them die. In any case, help me stall him. I'll go to the tomb to find the vast water divine artifact." The two of them tugged at each other, but they didn't try to restrain themselves. Being discovered was completely within his expectations. "Who are you?" Yi family's several generations of descendants. A deep and cold voice came from afar. Following that, Yi Qing Luo saw a patch of yin qi blowing over. That yin qi gradually transformed into a human figure with only the upper half of his body. Star. Chapter 1863. White eyebrows, white beard old man. When it got near, the Yin Qi was extremely strong. Yiqing Luo took a few steps back and pulled old man Tsang in front of her to block her face. Of course, her action was still a step too slow. When the tomb guardian rushed over, it saw Yiqing Luo. That face, which was filled with Yin Qi and majesty, instantly turned sinister as it bared its teeth and roared, "Yiqing Luo! How dare you come back?" This roar was deafening. The entire ancestral tomb shook 3 times. Yiqing Luo shrank back. "That old tomb, don't be agitated, I know I'm wrong and specially came back to apologize." Pooh! The tomb guardian didn't give her any face as he spat loudly, as his intangible body charged towards Yiqing Luo with a swoosh. "You know you're wrong? What do you know? According to my understanding of you, you must be eyeing something in the ancestral tomb." Yiqing Luo was so shocked that she took a few steps back. She knew she was in the wrong and knew that the tomb guardian would not do anything to the descendants of the Yi family, so her attitude softened a little. Old tomb, you know me so well, why do you have to tell the truth? Just take it that I'm here to apologize, won't you feel better?" Yiqing Luo's voice revealed a young lady's coquettish tone, as though she was acting coquettishly. But apparently, the tomb guardian didn't fall for this. It widened its eyes and stared at Yiqing Luo furiously as it roared, "I will absolutely not let you take anything away. I will not fall for your tricks again." Thinking of the last time, Yiqing Luo let it taste the taste of heaven and hell the next moment. The tomb guardian expressed that if it wasn't for the agreement with the Yi family's ancestors not to hurt the descendants of the Yi family, it would definitely turn Yiqing Luo into a tomb guardian and let her stay in the ancestral tomb for the rest of her life, to accompany her in guarding the tomb. It seemed to have sensed the tomb guardian's intention. Yiqing Luo's delicate body shuddered for a moment. Shortly after, her eyes curved into a smile as she used her gaze to urge old man Tsang to go up. Last time, it was also an unexpected situation. Who knew that the group of Yi clan elders tricked me into taking away the Azure Dew bracelet in order to obtain the Azure Dew bracelet and replace me as the new clan head? Yiqing Luo put on a pitiful look as she pouted her lips. "In order to not let that bunch of old men's evil scheme succeed, I perished together with them and was blown up into pieces of minced meat by the plane." The grave guardian's expression instantly turned solemn. Yiqing Luo noticed a flash of worry in its eyes. That's right. It was worry. There was no way she was mistaken. The graveyard guardian was actually worried about her. But at the next instance, the cemetery guardian's attitude made Yiqing Luo start to suspect if she was hallucinating. Explode into minced meat? Do you really treat me as a fool? It swiftly circled around Yiqing Luo's body and floated one round. Dense Yin energy drifted over from the upper body of the spirit body. No matter how one looked at it, it was strange. Its vision fell directly onto Yiqing Luo's body. This is minced meat? Yiqing Luo wiped off her tears. You can maintain your soul for 10,000 years and protect the ancestral tomb, so naturally I can also use another method to be reborn after I turn into minced meat. The grave guardian was silent for a moment as though it had thought of something. The worry in its eyes could no longer be concealed. It stared at Yiqing Luo as its expression turned gloomier and uglier. Just as Yiqing Luo felt her hair standing on end, the grave guardian suddenly gave her a tight slap on her forehead. I really want to kill you directly, guard this tomb with me. Star. Chapter 1864. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Yiqing Luo was in pain as she hugged her head and scurried backwards. Soon after, he raised his reddened eyes and wanted to cry but had no tears. Back then, I was also turned into minced meat. That's why I couldn't fulfill my promise to you. You can't blame me for this. It's all because of the greedy elders of the Yi clan. Why did you hit me? Floating above the cemetery, old man Tsang, who was watching the show, expressed, "Lass, your acting is too over the top." The guardian stared at Yi Qing Luo and gritted his teeth. As the current patriarch of the Yi family, why are you so stupid? You even got schemed by those elders. You've thrown the Yi family's face away. Looking at the grave guardian's gloomy aura, but its attitude was obviously much more intimate. Yi Qing Luo's wariness towards the guardian of the tomb also slowly dropped. This sharp-tongued grave guardian was actually a soft-hearted spirit body. Yi Qing Luo could tell that this grave guardian was wholeheartedly on the Yi family side. It was the guardian of the ancestral tomb, which was also the guardian of the Yi family. Recognizing this, Yi Qing Luo naturally wasn't afraid of the grave guardian. Its earlier worry and resentment towards her were all from the bottom of its heart. It was all from the bottom of its heart. Her feeling couldn't be wrong. Yi Qing Luo smiled as she leaned forward and pacified it. Now I'm still alive, moreover, this time I've been reborn, my life is even more colorful, it's considered as a good thing. Pausing, the smile between her brows was tinted with some light. In the past, I lived for the Yi family, now I live for myself, for the people I care about. I like my current life very much. The anger on the grave guardian's face gradually faded. It stared at Yi Qing Luo for some time. All right. Don't talk about who you are living for in front of me, this kind of sour words. Tell me honestly, what's your motive for coming to the ancestral tomb? If I tell you, will you let me in? Yi Qing Luo clasped her hands together, hoping to look at it. If you don't tell me, I'll kick you out right now. The grave guardian smiled sinisterly. Was there a need to be so violent? Could it be that after staying here for thousands or even tens of thousands of years, his personality had become twisted? In the end, Yi Qing Luo still succumbed to the grave guardian's prestige. That old tomb, the last time I came, didn't I bring along the Azure Aqua bracelet? This time, I'm also here for the Azure Aqua artifact. The moment her words landed, Yi Qing Luo inexplicably felt that the atmosphere had turned strange. That gloomy and heavy pressure made Yi Qing Luo's breathing icy cold. She shivered and looked at the guardian of the tomb. Old Mu, you're the one who asked me to say it, so, you came back this time to take something from my ancestor's tomb, and not to fulfill your promise to me. The graveyard guardian laughed, a sinister laugh. Yi Qing Luo's hair stood on end as she rubbed her arms. If she told the truth, the cemetery guardian would smile at her with a creepy smile. If she didn't speak, the graveyard guardian would kick her out. What could she do? She was also in despair. Why was it so hard to be a human? Cough, cough, cough. Old man Tsang, who was watching the show, finally didn't intend to watch the show anymore. His spiritual body floated down from mid-air, as he chuckled towards the graveyard guardian. I'm this lass's guardian, we're both guardians, so there's no pressure when we communicate. Azure Aqua bracelet? The graveyard guardian saw through old man Tsang's power at one glance, and immediately looked towards Yi Qing Luo. You stinky lass with a mouth full of nonsense, you still dare to bluff me. What did you say about exploding into minced meat? You've already contracted the Azure Aqua bracelet. Star. Chapter 1865. Yi Qing Luo. Did he need to explode just like that? Couldn't he display the dignity of the guardian of the tomb? I accidentally made a contract with him after I was reborn. Yi Qing Luo explained patiently, he is indeed the guardian of the Azure Dew bracelet. After my rebirth, he has been teaching me how to live for myself. She raised her hand. On her wrist, that circle of floating cherry blossom pattern was still floating. The guardian's gaze was fixed on her finger. What is this? Its expression suddenly turned solemn as it rushed over and stretched out its cold hand, poking her finger. Before it could touch, Yi Qing Luo's finger was suffused with a flowing red glow, causing the guardian's hand to fly away. Old tomb. Yi Qing Luo immediately retracted her hand and looked at the guardian anxiously. The guardian shook its hand. Nothing serious happened. Where did you get that ring from? Yi Qing Luo took a look at the profound phoenix ring and shook it. My man gave it as a token of love. The guardian's vigilant and solemn expression suddenly froze. Yi Qing Luo blinked and asked in puzzlement, this is called the profound phoenix ring, is there any problem? No. Although the guardian said that, but the way it stared at the profound phoenix ring, didn't seem like there was no problem at all. Ayaya, don't mind those small details. Old man Tsang floated over and directly hooked his arm around the guardian's shoulder, circling it tightly and brought it in another direction. As the same kind, we must have a lot of common topics. I believe you have a lot of things that you want to know too. The guardian struggled, but it was no match for old man Tsang's strength. Ask me anything, I will definitely tell you everything I know. Old man Tsang smiled as he pulled it to one side and winked at Yi Qing Luo's direction. Yi Qing Luo gave old man Tsang a thumbs up. This move was wonderful. She immediately broke into a run and ran towards the tomb in the inner circle. Without the guardian's obstruction, Yi Qing Luo rushed into the tomb smoothly. Looking at Yi Qing Luo's disappearing figure, the guardian who couldn't struggle against old man Tsang pushed his hand away. Enough, that lass has already entered, let go of my hand. TSK, this old man has long seen that you care about Luo Yu. Old man Tsang obeyed and released the graveyard guardian. His spirit body floated to the other side and found a comfortable place to sit down. You clearly wanted little girl Luo to enter the inner circle to find the azure water divine weapon, but you're just too proud. You can't let go of little girl Luo's lies to you. Look at how proud you are. Little girl Luo won't laugh at you. As he spoke, old man Tsang leaned his head against the stone wall. The grave guardian's gloomy eyes coldly stared at old man Tsang. However, he discovered that his gaze was unable to affect old man Tsang in the slightest. He clenched his fists and retracted his gaze in annoyance. He drove his spirit body, which only had its upper body, to float over. You made a contract with that girl, so you should know her identity, the graveyard guardian said in a low voice. What identity? Old man Tsang raised his eyebrows as if he didn't understand. The graveyard guardian's expression turned extremely ugly. Don't act dumb in front of me, I don't have the time to joke with you. Old man Tsang laughed lightly as he lazily shut his eyes. No matter what identity she has, in my eyes, she's just a lass. Chapter 1866. Yes, no matter what Yi Qing Luo's identity was. The current Yi Qing Luo was just Yi Qing Luo. The expression on the grave guardian's face gradually softened. It leaned against the stone wall and suddenly opened its mouth. That profound phoenix ring, is it really given to her by her beloved? Does lass Luo look like someone who would joke about this matter? Old man Tsang glanced sideways at it. Don't worry, I have personally verified that lad, he treats lass Luo sincerely. His identity. The grave guardian's expression was slightly grave. It sensed an unusual aura fluctuation from the ring. That fluctuation, but no matter, as long as they love each other sincerely, any problem is not a problem. Old man Tsang waved his hand. Don't be too fixated on that lad's identity. The grave guardian knew that although old man Tsang had a disapproving look, but he absolutely attached great importance to Yi Qing Luo. Since Yi Qing Luo's guardian had said so, it naturally had nothing else to say. Old man Tsang saw the grave guardian's silence, his white brows raised slightly as he leaned over and patted its shoulder. You have guarded the ancestral tomb for thousands of years, you should know the Yi family's temperament. The grave guardian was slightly stunned. It immediately flew into a rage as it slapped old man Tsang's hand away. You. Who do you think you are? How dare you pat my shoulder, I am not even familiar with you. Old man Tsang laughed loudly as he wantonly patted its shoulder. Two spiritual bodies, it was obviously the first time they met. But they were familiar with each other as though they had been good friends for many years. Yiqing Luo led Little Nine and walked in from the entrance. She saw a huge tomb chamber. On the stone wall of the tomb chamber, there were a few big words written. Yiqing Luo took out the luminous pearl and shone it over. On it was written, Yi Family Ancestral Tomb. She walked around the stone wall and entered the ancestral tomb chamber. The surroundings were bright. The last time Yiqing Luo took the Azure Dew bracelet and was in a hurry to leave, so she didn't pay attention to the surrounding environment. This time, Yiqing Luo wasn't in a hurry to leave. This model was an oval-shaped stone cave. There were 12 glass pillars erected around. On top of the pillars, there was a palm-sized luminous pearl. The 12 luminous pearls illuminated the entire wooden structure. Yiqing Luo's vision was fixed on the front of the tomb chamber. It was a huge bronze coffin. Was that the ancestor of the Yi clan? Yiqing Luo had heard quite a number of rumors about her ancestors from those old men. It was said that the ancestor of the Yi family was the king of the world. He could ascend to the heavens, dive into the earth, and was omnipotent. However, he was trapped by love, and in the end, because of the word love, he buried his own life. After he passed away, he was buried here. Towards this ancestor who died for love, Yiqing Luo's curiosity was piqued. She released her perception to the fullest, in case she triggered some mechanism by approaching the coffin. Then, he walked towards the coffin. Walking to the side of the coffin, Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand, trying to push open the coffin. He placed his fingers on the lid of the coffin and felt a chill in his hand. Just as she was about to push it away, she stopped. In any case, he was an ancestor of the Yi clan. She lifted the lid of her ancestor's coffin. Was it too disrespectful to the ancestors? Forget it, let the ancestors rest in peace. Just as she was about to retract her hand, Yiqing Luo's fingertips suddenly felt a scorching heat. It was the Azure Dew ring. Did it sense another divine relic? Yiqing Luo was pierced by that scorching pain, and shrank back abruptly. This shrinkage pushed the lid of the coffin and slowly opened. Star. Chapter 1867. A loud dong sound was heard. The coffin lid rolled onto the ground. That loud sound shocked Yiqing Luo so much that her little heart couldn't help but tremble. She hurriedly went forward to hold the coffin lid as she kept apologizing to the ancestors. Just as she lifted the coffin lid, Yiqing Luo's body suddenly stiffened. That apologizing voice stopped abruptly at this moment. She blinked her eyes as she stared at the inside of the coffin in astonishment. In the coffin, laid a young lady who was about 23 or 24 years old. The young lady was gorgeous, her hands crossed over her chest, her crimson long dress was like a blooming flower, overflowing with youth. But, what made Yiqing Luo shocked was, it wasn't the young lady's stunning looks. But, what's going on? What's going on? Come in to find a vast water artifact and you want to overturn the territory that I'm guarding? Are you purposely trying to go against me? Outside the tomb, the graveyard guardian heard the loud noise and immediately rushed in. Old Man Tsang followed behind. The two spiritual bodies rushed into the tomb and saw Yiqing Luo hugging the coffin lid, standing in front of the coffin in a daze. A sliver of panic flashed past the guardian's eyes. It wanted to rush up and cover Yiqing Luo's eyes. But it was clear that its reaction would make Yiqing Luo suspicious. It resisted the urge as its face turned gloomy as it roared angrily, "How dare you, Yi family's descendant! You! How dare you open the ancestor's coffin? I want your life!" Saying that, it bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it pounced towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Calm down, calm down. Old Man Tsang hurriedly hugged it from behind. Perhaps Las Luo didn't mean it, don't convict her so quickly. The guardian's expression was sinister. What else is there to say? She's hugging the coffin lid is the truth. The more he said, the angrier he got. I've guarded the ancestors' tomb for such a long time, and this is the first time I've seen such a descendant of the Yi family. While the two spiritual bodies were arguing, Yi Qing Luo slowly placed the coffin lid on one side. She took a step closer to the coffin. This action made the guardian's expression turn uglier. Just as he was about to berate, he saw Yi Qing Luo pointing at the coffin with a complicated expression. Old Mu, why? The thing lying in the coffin is a piece of stone. He was right. It was a rock. The body of a woman carved out of stone. She had delicate hair on her head and was dressed in a gorgeous crimson dress. However, it was indeed a corpse carved from stone. No matter how lifelike the carvings were, one could still see the difference between a human and a stone. When the tomb guardian heard that, his eyes flickered unnaturally, not daring to look at Yi Qing Luo's eyes. However, on the surface, it was extremely calm. It shouted angrily, "What stone? This is your Yi clan's ancestor. A famous ancestor." Ancestor? Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyes and slowly leaned against the coffin, fixing her gaze on it. Is the old tomb trying to tell me that after we die, we will all turn into stone? Do you think anyone can turn into stone? The cemetery guardian spat. Pft, 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 this isn't a stone. This is a secret technique of the Yi clan to protect their bodies forever. It used that kind of gaze to look at an ignorant human. As it disdainfully swept past Yi Qing Luo's face, it looks like a stone, but under this stone, is your Yi family's ancestor's real body. Don't you touch it casually. If you damage it, you'll be the Yi family's sinner. Yi Qing Luo was stunned as she instinctively shrank back. Was she thinking too much? Chapter 1868. Las Luo, what old tomb said is true. That is indeed the Yi family's secret method to protect their physical body. Old man Tsang, who was floating in mid-air, said in a deep voice, quickly closed the coffin and apologized to the ancestors. Yi Qing Luo's suspicious gaze swept past the two spiritual bodies. When did these two spiritual bodies get so close? But her gaze was fixed on old man Tsang for some time. Yi Qing Luo chose to believe in old man Tsang's words. She suppressed the doubts in her heart and bent over to close the coffin lid. At the moment when the lid was closed, Yi Qing Luo's gaze swept past the coffin. Why did it feel? Why does this woman carved from stone look so familiar? But for a moment, she couldn't recall where she had seen her before. When the coffin was closed, Yi Qing Luo was forced to kneel down in front of the coffin. The graveyard guardian muttered, begging for the ancestors' forgiveness and the like. After the time it took to burn a stick of incense. The two huge hands on top of her head finally released her. Yi Qing Luo climbed up from the ground and hugged her head as she stared angrily at the two spiritual bodies. They were indeed the same kind. So quickly they colluded with each other to bully a weak young lady like her. Old man Tsang met her resentful gaze and reacted swiftly to change the topic. Lass, look at the azure aqua ring on your fingertip, it's flashing non-stop. Hurry and find the other azure aqua artifact. Yi Qing Luo's suspicious gaze was still sizing him up suspiciously. Looking at old man Tsang's awkward hee-hee laugh. Yi Qing Luo expressed that old man Tsang was definitely up to something. These two spiritual bodies definitely had something to hide from her. Was it about the ancestor's corpse turning into stone? Or something else? But Yi Qing Luo didn't continue to ask. Old man Tsang and the tomb guardian were unwilling to say. No matter how she forced, she couldn't pry open their mouths. Moreover, they naturally had their own reasons for not saying. Yi Qing Luo kept away the deep thoughts in her heart as she placed all her attention on her fingers. The azure aqua ring's restlessness had no intention of diminishing as it continued. She looked around but had no way to sense the whereabouts of the other azure aqua artifact. Woo-woo. Not knowing when, Little Nine had scurried to Yiqing Luo's feet. Its little mouth bit onto Yiqing Luo's skirt as it pulled her towards the coffin. Yiqing Luo was puzzled. Little Nine, what's wrong? Wow. Wah. Little Nine opened his mouth, his sharp voice calling out a few times. You want me to go with you? Yiqing Luo seemed to understand Little Nine's meaning. As expected, Little Nine nodded his head, and while biting on Yiqing Luo's skirt, he started running towards the direction of the coffin. Yiqing Luo followed Little Nine over. She had only taken 2 steps when the tomb guardian suddenly rushed in front of her. What are you doing? I'm looking for the azure water artifact. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly. Why are you so nervous? When was I nervous? The guardian of the cemetery spat. Nervousness was written all over his face. All right? How am I not nervous? Looking at the grave guardian's expression, Yiqing Luo increasingly felt that in the ancestral tomb coffin, that stone corpse must be hiding some secret. Otherwise, the grave guardian wouldn't be so agitated. Suddenly, Yiqing Luo recalled the ancestor's extremely familiar face. Every time she was about to grab hold of something, she seemed to recall where that familiar feeling came from. But the next moment, she couldn't grab hold of anything. Star. Chapter 1869. Old Mu, stop teasing little Luo. Old Man Tsang promptly opened his mouth. That girl is very strange. If you tease her for too long and she takes it seriously, you won't be able to explain yourself even if you have 10 mouths. The muscles on the tomb guardian's face twitched as his gloomy eyes stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. But he didn't obstruct Yiqing Luo as he gave way to her. Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows and glanced at Old Man Tsang with a smile that didn't look like a smile. Old Man Tsang's expression was calm. With a benevolent expression, he smiled and nodded at her. No matter how one looked at it, this smile seemed to harbor ill intentions. Yiqing Luo expressed that she totally did not see the so-called benevolent countenance. On the contrary, it made her even more certain of her guess. However, she did not want to delve into this secret for the time being. Yiqing Luo followed Little Nine and walked to the side of the coffin. The little body of Little Nine drilled into the bottom of the coffin. Soon after, it raised its little head and let out a cry. You're saying, the vast water god relic is under the coffin? Yiqing Luo asked in astonishment. Little Nine nodded his head. Woo-woo. Yiqing Luo, there was only one thing she wanted to ask. Just what sort of eccentricity did the person who had scattered the azure water divine artifact all over the world have? It was fine that he liked to place them in all kinds of cemeteries. This time, he even hid under the coffin. What kind of inexplicable fate did it have with the tomb and the coffin? Yiqing Luo was extremely certain that that person had a huge grudge with the so-called King Ling, the ancestor of the Yi family. Otherwise, why would they hide a divine artifact that could shake the world in their graves? Once news of the whereabouts of the vast water divine artifact got out. What Prince Ling? What Yi clan ancestor's tomb? They would all be turned upside down. The tomb of the Yi clan's ancestor. If no one could break the formation, the ancestor could still lie peacefully in the coffin. Yiqing Luo was ridiculing in her heart as she stooped down, following the direction where Little Nine had drilled in, as she felt her way over. The bronze coffin was extremely cold, and gave off a strange feeling. Based on Yiqing Luo's strength, there was no way to push this huge coffin. Her hand fumbled on the coffin. The 2 spirit bodies at the side looked at each other anxiously. Suddenly, he heard a crisp, kacha sound. Yiqing Luo felt a secret compartment from the bottom of the coffin. She clasped the secret compartment and opened it. Sure enough, in the hidden compartment, he touched a necklace with a bewitching red glow. Rather than calling it a necklace, it would be more accurate to call it a red thread. This necklace was not decorated with any jewels. It was just a red thread that was about the thickness of a pendant. It was simple, yet it appeared extremely dignified and elegant. Especially that red line, it was clearly as red as blood. However, it was also faintly transparent. The red electric current flashed around the red line. It added a tinge of treachery to the red thread. Azure water chains. Old Man Tsang's spirit body floated over. This is the Azure water chain from the Azure Water Divine Artifact set. Azure Water's chain? Yiqing Luo raised her hand and saw the red thread chain. This thing was actually hidden in the secret compartment below the coffin. If it wasn't for Little Nine, I probably wouldn't have the chance to find it. It was no wonder that when she approached the coffin, the azure water ring would suddenly emit a strong reaction. She lowered her eyes and looked at Little Nine as she stretched out her hand and rubbed his little head. Well done, Little Nine. When we go out later, I must praise you properly to Ah Xian. Woo woo. Little Nine narrowed his fox eyes as he rubbed against her palm. To be able to help his mistress, Little Nine expressed his happiness star. Chapter 1870. Lass, just the Azure Dew ring's power, you've seen it before, now with the addition of the Azure Dew chain. Old Man Tsang clicked his tongue. After you get the settled heart pearl, in Nirvana realm, you'll really be invincible. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. However, you still can't defeat Ah Xian, right? Perhaps he had hidden something from Yiqing Luo. Old Man Tsang felt a little guilty. When he mentioned Dmo Xian, he actually avoided eye contact with her as he coughed dryly. That fellow is a rare genius, an existence even more abnormal than you. If you want to defeat him, you need to gather all 5 Azure Dew divine armaments. And gather all 5? Yiqing Luo recalled the last time, outside Ling Wang's tomb. She used the Azure Dew ring's power to exterminate the Dark Forces group of guardians. That power was already heaven-defying enough. She still needed 5 pieces to defeat. How strong was Dmo Xian? Yiqing Luo decided that after they returned to Nirvana realm, she must find a chance to test Dmo Xian's real ability. Boom, bam bam bam. Suddenly, the ancestor's tomb shook. Only a few sounds of gravel falling were heard. Following that, a few angry and clamorous voices were heard from the quiet inner circle. What the hell is this? Who brought this damn thing in here? Someone dares to barge into the Yi family's ancestor's tomb. Really treating us guardians as non-existent. F***K. Still dare to hide. You damn thing, stop right there. See if I don't blast you into dregs. It was noisy and it sounded like there were at least 4 different voices. When the guardian of the cemetery heard those voices, his expression immediately darkened. How did we attract those guardians who only know how to sleep all day? That's right, it was those few. Right from the start, Yiqing Luo had emphasized that there were those few guardians in the inner circle. Other than the old tomb, there were 4 other tomb guardians. But those 4 tomb guardians were usually in deep sleep and rarely bothered about the matters of the ancestor's tomb. Including the last time Yiqing Luo came to the ancestor's tomb to retrieve the Azure Dew bracelet. He only met the 4 guardians face to face. Something seems to have happened, let's go out and take a look. Yiqing Luo heard the voices outside getting noisier and noisier as she suggested. Yiqing Luo more or less understood the meaning behind their words. It seemed like someone had brought something in. She was the only descendant of the Yi family who had entered the tomb of the Yi family ancestor today. He was naturally referring to her. She did not want to bring trouble to the ancestor's tomb because of her. The man, the beast, and the 2 spirits immediately walked out of the tomb. In front of him, there were 4 white-browed old men with only their upper bodies. They were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws as they chased something. By the time Yi Qing Luo walked out, the gazes of the 4 spiritual bodies landed on her at the same time. No, that's not right. Not on her body. Instead, she was staring at something that was rapidly flying towards her, just as that thing was about to crash onto Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo suddenly flipped her palm. He raised his hand and grabbed the item in his palm. The thing that she touched was extremely cold. At this moment, it was struggling in her palm, as though it was trying to break free from her grip and drill out. Chapter 1871. One of the protectors saw Yi Qing Luo's face clearly. His expression congealed. "Why is it you again?" Yi Qing Luo smiled at the protectors. "Nice to meet you, grandfathers." The protectors' faces turned red and pretended to be fierce. "Who are your grandfathers?" "Stinky lass, don't even think of claiming to be related to us. Tell us honestly, did you bring that thing in?" Yi Qing Luo didn't reply. Old Mu rushed forward and complained, "Lass, why do you call those shameless lazy things grandfathers when you see them, but call me Old Mu when you see me?" This was not the main point. She was trying to claim to be related to them so that these cold-faced but warm-hearted protectors would not pursue this matter, all right? Hearing Old Tomb's accusation, the ferocious-looking guards were overjoyed. "Really? She really didn't call you Grandpa?" Old Mu stared fiercely at those protectors who were smiling like blooming chrysanthemums and spat. "If she doesn't call me then she won't, that means I have a close relationship with this lass." The 5 protectors suddenly started to fight with each other. Yi Qing Luo grabbed the thing in her hand, messy in the wind. It was just a title, why did they have to fight so hard? Cough. Did this mean that they actually liked her pinching? That. Yi Qing Luo saw that they were still fighting with each other and cleared her throat. "Grandfathers, don't be in a hurry to fight, can you tell me what happened?" When the protectors heard that, they suddenly regained their senses and patted their heads as if they were suddenly enlightened. Right. The matter is not settled yet." The number 1 protector floated to Yi Qing Luo's side and pointed at her tightly clenched hand. "Other than the descendants of the Yi family, no one else can enter the ancestral tomb, but this thing." It paused and frowned. "I feel that this thing is looking for something in the tomb." Looking for something? These 4 words made Yi Qing Luo's mind suddenly clear. She quickly opened her palm and indeed, the thing moving in her palm was the crystal ball which Yu Ming had passed to her. Under the illumination of the luminous pearl, that crystal ball shone with a dazzling luster, dazzling to the eyes. The moment Yi Qing Luo opened her palm, the crystal ball, which had been moving incessantly, suddenly stopped. It lay quietly in Yi Qing Luo's palm. It made Yi Qing Luo's jade-like palm look even more fair, almost transparent. "Damned girl, this is really yours." Guardian number 2 blew his beard and glared. He was so angry that he kept floating in the air. "You are a descendant of the Yi clan. How could you betray the Yi clan?" "Betray?" Yi Qing Luo was slightly stunned. "Wait, Grandpa Mu, what exactly is this crystal ball?" The few guardians looked at each other in dismay, but after carefully staring at Yi Qing Luo for some time, they saw that Yi Qing Luo's expression indeed didn't look like she was pretending. "You really don't know?" Guardian 3 asked suspiciously. Yi Qing Luo nodded. She really did not know what this crystal ball was. At that time, Netherworld asked her to bring him into the tomb of the ancestors. She didn't notice anything strange in the crystal ball, so she didn't take it to heart. He didn't expect the crystal ball to be able to move on its own. Could it be that it was also a battle pet? This thing roamed everywhere in our ancestors' tomb. It had gone to every corner and it even dared to attack us. It's absolutely searching for something in the ancestral tomb. It's trying to pry into the treasures in our ancestors' tomb. A small pearl, not only can it avoid our attacks, it can also turn around and attack us. It's absolutely not something simple. Star. Chapter 1872. The more Yiqing Luo listened, the more solemn her expression became. Her slender fingers pinched the crystal ball as she squinted her eyes slightly. A pair of long and narrow eyes flashed with a trace of biting cold light. Damn you, Ming. He didn't tell her that this thing could act on its own and attack people or spiritual bodies. Thinking of what Yu Ming said, "It will help me find what I want," Yiqing Luo had an impulse to strangle him. Yu Ming had lived in the 21st century for too long. He carried all kinds of high-tech things. Although this was a deal with Yu Ming. But the premise of the deal was that it must not affect the ancestral tomb. No matter what, this was her Yiqing Luo's ancestor. If Yu Ming wanted to do anything to the ancestral tomb, the chill in Yiqing Luo's eyes became more and more wanton. Her pink lips curled up slightly, tainted with evil. "Grandfathers, don't worry, I will solve this thing." Looking at Yiqing Luo's evil expression, the 5 guardians felt a chill down their spines. It seemed that their current descendant of the Yi family had some similarities with their ancestors' temperament. They had lived for thousands of years, even tens of thousands of years. Naturally they could see that Yiqing Luo and this crystal ball did not have much relationship. Although it was Yiqing Luo who brought this crystal ball into the ancestral tomb, but she said that she would solve it. They chose to believe this descendant of the Yi family. "Alright, since the azure water artifact is in your hands, get lost quickly, there is nothing you want here." Old Mu looked at the way the other 4 guardians looked at Yiqing Luo and suddenly felt an ominous premonition, so he immediately urged. Sure enough, the next moment, the 4 guardians had already floated their spiritual bodies and rushed towards Yiqing Luo. The 4 spiritual bodies surrounded Yiqing Luo's side as they kept asking about the Yi family's current situation. Yiqing Luo didn't hide anything. He gave a concise and comprehensive account of what had happened the last time he came to the tomb and took away the azure dew bracelet. She said all these not because she wanted the guardians to avenge her or revive the Yi family. But these guardians were the guardians of the Yi family. They had the right to know all the facts. The expressions of the guardians gradually turned from excitement to gloomy. For the Yi family to become like this. They were extremely disappointed. After all, they had willingly guarded this ancestral tomb for tens of thousands of years. However, the Yi clan had turned into an infighting. For the sake of a so-called divine tool, they even dared to plot against the clan leader. It really made them feel very complicated. Fortunately, their descendant of the Yi clan had a chance to be reborn. Otherwise, they would not have the face to call themselves the guardians of the Yi clan. Seeing that he could not stop it, Old Mu sighed helplessly, "Let bygones be bygones. Now that the girl has her own new life, let her live her life in her own way. That will be enough." Old Tomb's words made the other guardians silent for a moment. Soon after, he sighed softly and said in a low voice, "Old Mu is right. Since the descendant of the Yi family has died in that explosion, the little girl now is her own person. She can live her own life in her own way and there is no need for her to live for the Yi family." Several pairs of loving gazes made Yiqing Luo's heart feel warm. Sure enough, if she wanted to get the other party's heart, it was best to treat them with sincerity. The last time she came to the ancestral tomb, she only wanted to take away the azure dew bracelet. She had no intention to talk to these guardians. Today, she waited with sincerity. She then understood that these guardians were the ones who truly cared about the Yi family in her. Star. Chapter 1873. Don't be moved to tears, we are a bunch of old fellows and won't fall for it. Old Mu stretched out his hand and patted heavily on Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. "You'd better leave the ancestral tomb with this crystal ball." Yi Qing Luo nodded. She wasn't sure what this crystal ball was. Carrying it on her was a hidden danger. Before Yi Qing Luo opened her mouth, the four guardians had already said in disgust, "Yes, yes, yes, leave quickly. Every time you come back, you have to take away the good stuff from the ancestral tomb. Don't come back next time." Guardian number 3 by the side pinched Guardian number 1's hand and immediately looked towards Yi Qing Luo. "Don't listen to its nonsense. The reason why Yi family's ancestral tomb exists is to protect Yi family's inheritance. As long as you need it, you can come to the ancestral tomb anytime. However, if you want to take away the things that belong to the ancestors from the tomb, your heart must be as pure and clean as it is now," Protector number 4 reminded him. Clean? Pure? Could these two words really be used to describe her? Yi Qing Luo's mouth twitched. Under the encirclement of the 5 guardians, Yi Qing Luo was sent out of the inner circle. Little Nine and Old Man Tsang were completely and utterly ignored. At the entrance of the inner circle, Yi Qing Luo suddenly thought of something and looked at Old Mu. "Old Mu, the last time I came, I promised to give you freedom, if you are willing. I have stayed in the ancestral tomb for tens of thousands of years, freedom and whatnot don't matter anymore." Old Mu waved his hand. "I can't keep up with the changes of the outside world. I can't adapt to the place where you are born now." He paused and looked at the other 4 guardians. "Ask them, if they want to leave with you, you can bring them with you." The 4 guardians looked at each other in dismay. It seemed like they hadn't figured out what kind of riddle they were playing. But very quickly, they reacted. All of them shook their heads and had no intention of leaving the ancestral tomb. Seeing their resolute attitude, Yi Qing Luo felt a little strange but didn't say anything more. She remembered the last time Old Mu longed for freedom. This time, it would not be a problem for her to bring the old tomb away, or even bring the 5 spiritual bodies out of the ancestral tomb. However, none of them were willing to leave. She could only sigh to herself. It could only be said that it was impossible to guess the guardians' thoughts. Yi Qing Luo bade farewell to the 5 graveyard guardians as she carried Little Nine and led Old Man Tsang, whose shoulder was floating as she walked towards the center. Passing through the complicated array with ease, Yi Qing Luo was still in a dilemma about why the old tomb refused to leave with her. Old Man Tsang floated down from her shoulder and slowly floated in front of her. "Silly girl, these old men, they made a deal with you before and wanted to accompany you out of the ancestral tomb because they were worried that you would be harmed by the Audioboo bracelet." He let out a heavy sigh. The existence of the Audioboo bracelet, no matter what era it is, as long as it is known, it will definitely set off a reign of terror. Yi Qing Luo understood this point very well. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been afraid to use the teleportation secret technique and the thunderclap technique in front of others. He couldn't let anyone discover anything about the Audioboo bracelet. Therefore, that time when Old Mu made a deal with her, he actually wanted to stay by her side to protect her, the current patriarch of the Yi family? Then why? Yi Qing Luo had just spat out these 3 words when she suddenly thought of something and stopped her mouth. The lines on her face softened a little. "You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.